Hey guys, this is George from Diamond Yard Sports Cards, proud member of the Misfits crew. I got two Misfits with me, and hopefully you guys will be tuning in. And we're going to talk about a few topics that we both discussed or all discussed before this began. But I want to welcome everybody aboard. We got Mr. Mangini, we got James, lead hunters, and this is going to be fun. So welcome aboard.
Hey, cheers.
Great to be with you guys for another Hobby Hump.
Hobby Hump Wednesday.
What's up, George? Your first one that you're doing with us live for a minute. Couldn't get with us last week.
Well, I was trying to get with you guys last week. I made a kind of a commitment, and then I ran into one of the boys I grew up with, on my block. He used to live behind me for my whole childhood, my best friend pretty much. And then we just went out and had some dinner and some drinks and and next thing you know, I was missing the Misfits. So I'm glad to be here with you guys now.
Well, since I've had drinks with you, I can understand.
Yeah, it just kind of went on for a long time.
Right.
But anyway, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to my World Series starting on Friday.
So, guys, what do you think? Is this going to be the greatest World Series of all time?
It's blockbuster.
They're going to.
I can't remember being this excited for a World Series since my Pirates were there in '79.
Yeah, I did a video yesterday, and I was talking about it. How it's finally wonderful to have the number one seed going at it. The two, we know these are clearly the two teams that were the best. Two likely MVPs, right, against each other from the American National League. So this is we have a lot of excitement with these playoff teams, man. But I mean, what do you guys think about all the playoff teams? And we have last year was on my Diamondbacks versus the Rangers, and I think other than Dallas, Fort Worth, and Phoenix, nobody cared.
Right. That's part of the reason why I was hoping it wasn't a Subway Series, because I didn't mind seeing one again because the Mets were kind of exciting this year. But no one cares outside of New York.
Yeah, it was a great playoff season. I mean, you got the Tigers in there, and you got the Mets in there, and there was some good baseball being played, and it was really the playoffs were fantastic. But I have to tell you, and this is no disrespect to any other players, there's a bunch of fantastic players going to be playing in this World Series. But it's Judge versus Ohtani, baby, and this is exciting. This is exciting.
And
this is like Willie Mays versus Mickey Mantle or something in the World Series,
It's true. And then it's not even that it's just those two. It's a 3 against 3 with those three-headed monsters.
Yep.
With Betts is no, slouch. He's just as good as Ohtani or Judge.
Absolutely.
Right.
Giancarlo's, exciting, can homer at any time.
Right. So
the thing is I think, when history looks back on this, unless there's some, unknown hero, anything could happen in a World Series. People are going to remember Judge versus Ohtani. That's what it's going to be.
And it's going to be almost global because, in Japan, It's going to be big over there. They're going to support Ohtani, Yamamoto. It's going to be huge.
Yeah. There are a lot of times throughout history where the best players didn't go to the World Series, you had to wait a long time.
Right.
So you got to see, Willie Mays went to 1, didn't play necessarily, like I said, he didn't play against Mantle. I mean, this is kind of rare in my book.
So what's the last World Series you can remember that was as blockbuster as this one?
That's what I'm saying. I can't.
Well, I remember, when we're kids, the Dodgers, Yankees, again, it was in '81, it was Fernando Mania versus Reggie. And then 78 and then 77. Those were big World Series. But there were some great teams back then, and your Pirates, John. And I mean, I don't know, the Mets. I remember vividly the Mets Red Sox World Series with all those guys.
But what is it? The '75 Big Red Machine versus the Red Sox. That was a pretty blockbuster.
Yeah.
Because the Big Red Machine was already the Big Red Machine. You know, when they went up against Oakland, they weren't quite known like that yet.
James, let me ask you this. You're a Yankee fan. The 90s Yankees dynasties, or the dynasty, the last dynasty, in my opinion, who they played? They played anybody that would lead?
Braves. They had the
Braves.
big three pitchers, you know, Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine, and they still had, you know, some pretty big boppers with Gant and Justice. So that was like the Yankees were the underdog, actually. Now, when you look back, the Yankees with their dynasty, you know, 96 was, you know, pretty huge, but they faced them again in 99 and beat them again. So just to prove it wasn't a fluke. But
I remember that Braves team then played the only one they won when they played the Indians. Sorry to Scott and Indian fans out there, but they shut them down. That offense was something else, right? And they shut them down. But yeah, I can't. At least right now, I can't think about nationally, globally as exciting of a series as this with this many superstars. Like you said, you know, Mookie Betts can do everything. He's kind of like Willie Mays light. And then then Soto. To me, Soto like hits the ball like he's like George Brett with power, like big power. And you know, it's just a really amazing group of players.
Yeah, you know, I think back to 1990 when the A's, the Oakland A's had 7 starting All-Stars in the World Series. They had traded for, who was it? Steinbach?
Terry Steinbach?
No, he
wasn't he an all? They traded for like 1 or 2 guys who were All-Stars, and yeah, Terry was at third, right? He was one of the few that wasn't.
Yeah,
but
I think
they had 7 starting All-Stars, and
they
the
traded
Reds,
for Ricky.
What's that?
They traded for Ricky.
Okay, I think it was somebody else too. Was it Willie McGee or I'm drawing a blank on the other guy they traded. I think they brought over 2. Anyway, but they went up against a young, virtually like not so. These guys weren't known that well with Cincinnati, right? Like Barry Larkin was young. They had Chris Sabo, Eric Davis, and I remember the Reds. They beat my Pirates in the National League championship game, and I remember telling my dad, I'm like, if I had any balls, I would bet big money on the Reds to win this because they were highly, you know, they were underdogs, and you could just tell they were gelling. Like they were really gelling. And they swept the Oakland A's in 4 games. And the Oakland A's had 7 starting All-Stars. That was one of the most power-packed teams ever in the World Series.
I was James, you were like seniors in high school, right? You and I are the same age. I'm a senior in high school. We're driving to the dog track. We used to go to the dog track because they let us bet at 17 years old. And I just remember it was game 4 was on. And I'm like, is this really happening? Like, we're listening to it on the radio. I'm like, are the A's really going to get swept? You kept waiting for the A's to like wake up. And they couldn't because every time they tried to wake up, they put in Charlton and Dibble and Myers and shut them down.
You know, I felt it. You could just feel it. Like they were just like the Cinderella team. They were gelling at the right time because, I mean, the Pirates were way more talented than them too. And they just had that X factor at that particular time. Like if that series happened in mid-season, Oakland wins it. You know, they were just peaking and gelling at that time. And it was a great team, and it was a great World Series, unless you were an A's fan.
I think this is one of the most closely bet on. Like the Dodgers have the edge because they got home field advantage, but not by much. Like it's a plus 150. That's a slim margin. Like Vegas has them very close.
Okay, what's your prediction? Now you're a Yankee fan, so anybody that's listening, take that into account.
Look, I think it's going to be very close. I give an edge to the Dodgers because home field means a lot. And,
George, who you going? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that I think they have the edge, and but the Yankees have better starters. Like they're piecemealing a staff over there with the Dodgers. But I don't know. I just hope that Aaron Judge starts getting revved up because without him, like if he's just batting 180, it's gonna be tough to beat the Dodgers.
Who has the George? Who has the better pitching?
Well, I mean, the Dodgers on paper, absent the injuries, have great starting pitching, but they've had so many injuries, right? They've had to battle through those. I mean, I don't think that there's a pitcher in the series that's as good as Cole. So if I think what's going to happen for the Yankees to win is I think Cole is going to have to he's going to have to pitch multiple games and pitch really well and come out of it with 2 of the 4 wins. Frankly, I think the Dodgers are going to win. If Judge has a bad series, the other guys really got to pick him up. If Ohtani has a bad series, I mean, Freddie Freeman is incredible. You know what I mean? He's incredible. He's a doubles machine, extra base hit machine. Will Smith is a really good hitting catcher. Obviously, of Betts, who can do everything on the field. So I just think from an offensive perspective, the Dodgers have better baseball players. No offense, James, but like all around defense baseball players. The Yankees might have better sluggers with Stanton and Judge, but when you talk about like defensive perspective, they're playing a bigger Dodger stadium. If it's going to come down to defense, I think that the Dodgers have a leg up on that. I think the Dodgers offense is better. I don't think the Dodgers pitching is as good as the Yankees. Now, again, I think Cole's going to have to do some big things.
Well, there's the thing. The pitching, I think they made a big deal about how the Dodgers bullpen is better than the Yankees bullpen, but I think their bullpen might get taxed because they're doing like the 4th game, which is a committee game. Like if you go on the 4th game and you exhaust your bullpen doing a committee game, and then the 5th game, 6th game is tight, and it comes down to the bullpen, and the Yankees lineup has seen those pitchers over and over and got used to how they pitch, that edge is going to go to the Yankees offense. And on the other side, you got pitchers for the Yankees that could go longer, pitch 6 innings possibly. And then you're not going to see their bullpen as much, which is on the same level of the Dodgers level, like just a slim margin to the Dodgers with the bullpen. But the Yankees are right up there as far as ERA goes, and they have 4 pitchers in the bullpen, which are really good. So I think the Yankees might have the edge with the pitching to the point where I think we lost George.
Yes, we did.
Well, I just think that the edge might go eventually to the Yankees side offensively, being that they're going to face those pitchers a little more often.
Yeah, I'll go on the record as predicting the Dodgers victory.
Dodgers victory.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to predict Dodgers in 7.
Dodgers in 7.
I can't see it going any less than 6. But yeah, I'd love to see 7. We all want to see 7. And
I would be absolutely shocked if there was a sweep or
absolutely.
At 4-1. I would be shocked.
Yeah, there's too many veteran guys.
They're both such good teams, and they can light it up at any moment.
I think,
and like you said, there's not the dominant pitching to offset that.
Yeah.
They're not going up against Bob Gibson.
I'll tell you this much, though. If it goes to Game 7, Dodgers are home, that's going to be a tough one to win if you're a Yankees. Like, you're going to play against 10, not 9, 10, because that home field advantage is going to be huge.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been to Dodger Stadium before, and I'm not an expert on Dodger Stadium. You'd have to have Pepino Man or Geez Mikey or somebody like that on to talk to you about that. But Dodger Stadium, the atmosphere there is like a football game. You know what I mean? But like Yankee Stadium probably is. In Arizona, it's real tame. It's just mild. Like San Diego's like a big party. Nobody cares if the Padres win or not. Drinking their brew beer. But Dodger Stadium, you're right, James. The field is bigger. It's harder to hit the ball out. You need to have more doubles, manufacture more runs. And it's a really loud crowd. And I don't know how many Yankee fans you'd actually see there. Those Dodger fans are holding on to their tickets.
Yeah. They're loyal. That's one thing. They're definitely loyal. And then I guess talking about the Dodgers so much, we lost a Dodger today, right, George? You wanted to bring that up. I'll let you take over.
Yeah, I know that we've talked before about the fact that people are talking about this. And we knew Fernando was ill because he had lost a lot of weight and didn't look like himself. But, the first time I remember being excited about professional baseball. I mean, there was Reggie in the 70s, but I was real little. But like Fernando Mania hit in 81 in the spring of 81, and we had a strike looming and all that shit. And I was like, why would they strike? What the hell is even a strike? I was like 8 years old. But Fernando, man, he was just rolling and doing his thing and came out of nowhere. And I think then Tommy Lasorda tabbed him for opening day, and then he just rolled out and lost only one game in his first, 13 games or something like that. It was crazy. And they rode him. I mean, he pitched complete games, but just like my first memories, not only of baseball, but like of baseball cards. And I'm just going to say this one story. Like, this is related to baseball cards. We had a 7-Eleven we'd ride our bikes to, and it would be like they had only at the 7-Eleven, they had Donruss, 81 Donruss. And I was the only place I went to get baseball cards at that time. And I'd go in there and I'd buy like 5-6 packs of 81 Donruss looking for that Fernando rookie. And I'm like, man, I can't get this card. And my friend, he would get Fleer packs in this place called Gemco, which is like Walmart before Walmart. And he'd like come over like 5 Fleer Fernando rookies. I'm like, man, I can't find him in that Donruss set. I got all these guys like this dude, Tim Raines, and there's like 7 Rod Carew cards and 4 Reggie Jackson cards. And I found I spent up until like most of the summer, I spent all my money on these Donruss cards, only to find out there was no Fernando in there.
Yeah, you should have invested in a checklist before you went doing that.
I wasn't looking at check. You kept looking for the, when you're looking for the checklist, you're like looking where, well, I must not have the right checklist because Fernando's not on here.
Yeah, I know. Back then it wasn't like you didn't know unless you talked to your friends who happened to know, or somebody that picked up a magazine or a Beckett or something to try to figure it out, because it wasn't like today where you just have this stuff at your fingertips and everybody knows.
Yeah, you'd be on the playground and it's like, yeah, this kid would be like, you'd be playing football or whatever, and it's like, no, my cousin, he got a Donruss Fernando. He did. It's blue. You see shit when they're 8, 9, 10 years old.
Well, I'll tell you what, Fernando Mania was so exciting. And I can't tell you, I remember it like it was yesterday. I can't tell you how excited we were, me and my friends, when they came out with Donruss and Fleer. Because we would go, we used to walk like a mile through the woods down to our local convenience store. We'd gather up whatever change every day in the summer. I swear, every day. And we go down there. And my brother, my friend and neighbor, he had an older sister. She was like in high school, and she would give us money to buy cards if we would bring her back cigarettes, because it was like a mile down through the woods and everything, and she didn't have a car. So we would take her money and we would go down and we would buy our baseball cards, and we'd be like, and we need a pack of Newports. And the woman would be like, these aren't for you, are they? And we'd be like, no, they're for his older sister.
That was a screening mechanism.
And she'd go, okay, and sell them to us.
Yeah, the screening mechanism was, these aren't for you, are they, boys?
Yeah,
no, they're for his big sister.
Mean, what a it's the times are so different. But anyway, we would get those, and then we'd sit there and we'd open them right there in the store. But we were so excited when they came out with Fleer and Donruss, man, because then we had all kind of stuff to go after. And I remember at the flea market I went to, I could still remember I would buy them, the Fleer and Donruss, by the box. And I remember the Fleer box, I believe it was $7 at the flea market for the whole box of cards. And then they had these Fleer stickers.
The star stickers. Yeah. Oh, those are 82. Yeah, 82 stickers.
Yeah, 82. You remember these?
Oh, yeah. There's that Fernando, man.
And in 82, Fernando Mania was still in full force. So I cherished his 82 cards as much as I did his 81 cards.
Whoa, there goes 82 Fernando.
And I remember I got this, I think it was either a book or a magazine. And I'm going through it. I think it was a book. And I'm going through it, and I see a 1981 Topps card with just Fernando. And I only had the rookie with the 3 players. And I'm like, what is this? I had no idea they had Topps traded. And that was the first time.
Mike Scioscia on there. I didn't even Jack Perconti. Who the hell is that? I want Fernando, baby.
Yeah. So that was the very first Topps traded set, 1981.
I know, George. You felt like everyone else in 33 looking for that nap last away. You couldn't
Yes.
you
The
couldn't
chase
find
card, man.
Yeah, right.
The gum would like you'd be pissed, but then that Donruss gum. You guys remember this? It was really powdery. Like it
Yes.
wasn't the top gum. It was powdery and chewy, and you'd be like, it's okay. And then
Yeah.
Donruss got rid of that gum the next year, But I stuffed as much of that in my mouth as I could, man.
Now
So-
the Fleer like stuck to the cards. If you
Yeah.
didn't, if you sat on them, like back then we started to once in a while. That was like the beginning of sitting on unopened material, and sometimes I because I put all 3 sets together. Right, I had all the sets, so we get like some extra packs and sit on them for a little while, and then I just couldn't wait. I had to open them. Like there's no way I could have kept them unopened. And sometimes, the card would come out with the gum stuck to it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Do you guys remember how Fleer tried to entice us to buy the whole box? You know what they did? Remember?
No.
They stuffed an extra 2 packs in the middle, so each box had 38 packs, not 36.
I didn't even know that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't count them when I opened it.
So you fellow collectors out there, if you're buying unopened material and they send you a 81 Fleer box and it has 36 packs, not 38, then they're just screwing you over.
Interesting. That's a repack, but somebody will authenticate it.
They'll just wrap it in cellophane, man.
What do they call that? A Frankenstein box.
A Franken box. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go grab a few 81 Donruss cards, but just keep going, James. Talk about Fernando a little bit.
Fernando, jeez. All I remember was him looking up to the heavens.
Yep, looking up. Yep, that's what I remember too.
That was like surreal to see someone not look at the plate when he was about to deliver it. It's like a true pitcher just praying it would hit the strike zone or something.
Yeah, it was unique, and he's one of the last guys, or maybe the last guy to throw the screwball, in a big way.
And I remember as a kid looking at him just strike out everyone, and no one could hit his pitches. And I just kept wondering, what is he doing that's so amazing, like that nobody else could do that? So as a kid, I couldn't really understand and fathom. I think I was like 11 or 12 around that time. And I wasn't old enough to really know anything about screwball and curves and the difference of how the ball moved. But all I knew is he would throw that ball, look up before he threw it, and it was just striking out people left and right, left and right, left and right. And then next thing you know, they're in the World Series.
I could still see him playing his day, walking off the mound after striking somebody out for the 3rd out. Just classic stuff.
I gotta ask you guys though. I guess to get off Fernando though, World Series moments that you witnessed, top 3, top 5 World Series moments ever that you've watched. I gotta ask you guys. I guess I'll start with John.
Top 3? Well, Kirk Gibson's got to be up there.
Kirk Gibson, that's a good one.
I mean, come on. That's right. That's a scene right out of The Natural. For me, there was a good one in Game 2 of the '79 series when I was a little kid, and my man Manny Sanguin got a pinch hit walk off, single into the gap and right. That was a good one.
What else?
I'll tell you, just watching Barry Bonds in 2002 go to the World Series was a phenomenal moment for me. Just watching him in the World Series was great.
And George, how about you?
There's so many moments, like Stuke was putting down Kirby Puckett. The first big World Series moment I remember is Reggie Jackson hitting the 3 home runs. That was like, he's not going to do it again. And was it Howard Cosell who was doing it? And up comes Jackson, 2 home runs on the night, something like that. And he just jacks another bomb, and you're like, man, this guy's incredible. But
I mean that spawned a nickname, right? Mr. October.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was remiss not to have brought that one up.
And then in the 80s, being a Mets fan, lived in Arizona. We didn't have a team. My aunt lived on Long Island, and they were just Mets fans, and I loved Gooden and Strawberry and those guys. And when that whole last sixth and seventh game, that was amazing. That series, the ball through Buckner's legs. I mean, even the NLCS, ALCS, the NLCS in '86. Leading up to that, Mike Scott looked like he was unbeatable against the Mets, and they just thank God they didn't have to face him in the last game in Game 5. And then Donnie Moore giving up that home run to Hindu to send the Red Sox to the series. Jim Leyritz. But for me personally, it's Luis Gonzalez getting the hit in 2000. Sorry, James. Sorry. You can't not. I mean, get out of here. So, I mean, when you got the greatest closer of all time, that's
come on.
That's what I'm talking about. Autographed.
So my wife at the time, she worked for GNC, and she was their marketing person, and she signed all their talent. So she had to deal with Adam Sandler when he did that one movie of cartoons in the mall, and the CEO didn't want to do it, and Adam was always calling my wife trying to get her to talk him into allowing them to do it. So they finally gave him approval, but Luis Gonzalez was one of the guys she signed. So this is actually personally made out to her, thanking her for all her help.
I was doing the show in the spring in Phoenix, our convention center show, the big Arizona State card show, and Gonzo and Evan Longoria were at my table looking at cards. They were coming around. I see them coming, and they're just looking. And I grabbed my son real quick, who plays baseball, and I said, Mr. Gonzalez is my son, Gavin, and I want to introduce you. He'd like to meet you. And then he brought over. He's like, "What position do you play?" And my son says third base and pitcher. And he's like, "Well, we got a third baseman right here." And he grabs Longoria and then introduces him to my son. And I don't know if my son's will ever forget that. It was just very nice.
Yeah, I got all kind of Luis signed stuff. I got a signed bat and a ball up there. I got all kind of signed cards. I had him sign a poster for me.
Well, let's get off that one.
James, what about you?
Wait, but before I tell you, the 2 home runs in that series, game 4 and 5, magical as a Yankees fan with 2 outs.
Why are you pitching to that guy? And why are you
Baboom
him again to get worked again?
with 2 outs in the 9th. That was beyond magical for you.
That series should have been over in 5 games, not 7. That was just a mess.
Oh, they almost built a monument for Kwan over there. What's his name?
Bung Hung Kim.
Oh my gosh.
Derek Jeter is Mr. November is right, man. That was, and coming off 9/11 and all the emotions in the country, and it was just really something else. We had been living for a little while without baseball, and I remember when they came back, and it's just anyway. I was listening to a Mets game, and they had the first game back after the towers collapsed, after we took the break. They were playing the bagpipes and doing the national anthem, and I was driving home from my job in San Antonio at the time, and I'm just listening to us. I'm just tearing up as I'm driving home, But anyway, there's a lot of emotions in that series too. It was wonderful.
Great World Series. I'm talking about, even though we were on the losing end, we had those 2 games, those moments were so huge. It lifted the whole city up.
Yeah,
you were a buzz, and for it to happen again, like deja vu, it was surreal.
I'm watching the Jeter documentary, which is fantastic. I mean, I have gained a world of respect for Jeter. That's for you, James. But anyway, I just I'm watching that, and they replay those moments, and it's like, man, you were kind of right back there again. I'm sorry, you can't win them all, though. You got to throw us Southwesterners a bone once in a while. You can't win all the series.
All right, so let me tell you top 3. Top 3 for me, you named a few already, so I'm going to name others. But I would pick Gibson as one of them. But I'm not going to pick the one John said. I would say in between Buckner's leg, because I was in New York, and I saw how that was crazy. Like, all of New York was rooting for the Mets after that. So that was, wow. What a way to make an error. You could have sealed the game there. And then the tide shifted. That was something else. Joe Carter, that home run that Joe Carter hit was something else. To see him running around the bases and jumping up, that was, man, that's what you dream about when you're playing stickball, wiffle ball. You dream about a moment like that.
And can I say something?
That was bittersweet for me because, Maz was the only one to do that up until that point.
It's true. And then, Joe Carter, I believe, had the most RBIs of any player in the 1980s. And he was on Cleveland and Chicago. And, he was always a really, really good hitter and just never got his due. He'd have like 85 to 110 RBIs every single year in the 80s when nobody was knocking any runs. And then he finally had that moment, where people realized like Joe Carter's really, really a good player.
Right. That was great for him. And then I guess for pitching, I'm crossed between two. The Minnesota Jack Morris versus Smoltz game. That was if you love the chess game, the defense, the whole, tight game where every out is like biting your nails. That was such a game, man. That Jack Morris Smoltz game was something else. And then Smoltz is involved in another one with Pettit. That was great too. So between those two pitching performances, that was a thing of beauty.
I'll tell you what, go watch the 1968 World Series and watch Lou Brock just put on a show.
Lou Brock?
Man, he had an outstanding series.
Another one, which I'm not going to put up there as my top three, but Freeze with the Cardinals. My God. He took over that World Series. That was something else to see someone you never expected to be the hero.
Well, of course he was a hero. He came from Pittsburgh.
Come on, man. Oh, my gosh. That was great.
Look at this guy go off. This is ridiculous.
He was just hitting home run after home run.
And he was hitting all fields, I remember. There was an air late in in one of the games, I remember they were losing, and he hits his ball to right center. I'm trying to remember the outfielder, maybe was Nelson Cruz or somebody. Yeah. Not a great slugger, but not a good defender. And the ball went over his head. And, a guy like Judge probably would have caught it. A guy like Betts certainly would have caught it. But David Freese was hitting all fields with power. Wasn't striking out. You're like, man, they thought when they go into the series, you're like, we got to deal with Albert Pujols. But no, this guy Freese is better right now.
Right. I thought Freese was going to be the next best thing because, shoot, he outshined Pujols. Like, are you kidding me? But, yeah.
You just never know who's going to get hot in the World Series. That's what's so exciting about it. I mean, you have guys that come out and they're heroes and you didn't expect them to be.
Yeah, remember.
That's why I said at the beginning, we're all looking forward to Judge and Ohtani. But you never know. Somebody else could rise to the occasion and do something really special.
It's true. I remember Lemke for the Braves. He bat like 750 in 91. It was unbelievable for someone that you couldn't even get out every time he came up. It was a hit somewhere. And he was like 5'3" or something. He was so small.
Well, baseball is streaky, right? You have, you go into a slump and then you get on a hot streak where you're batting 500. And it's just a matter of who is on that hot streak at this time.
Right. I mean, Luis Gonzalez, out of all players on that team, he's the one that gets that pooch hit. And
he was a good, solid player.
He was, but I think there were better players on that team. No, you got the two pitchers. Who was the one that won the MVP? Was it
co-MVPs?
It was Cole, Schilling, and Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And then who were like the big hitters? Was it Luis Gonzalez?
It was Matt Williams and Luis Gonzalez. I think Mark Grace hit. I think he would hit. They remove him around. They'd pit him number 2 sometimes. Gracie hit like 300. Typical Gracie stuff. Tony Womack was a leadoff guy. Former Pirate, right?
Batista, he was killing the Yankees in that game.
Miguel Batista was our number. We had Schilling, Johnson, Batista. There was somebody else I'm missing. But in our bullpen with BK Kim, if you remember what happened was Johnson pitched game 6. And then game 7, Schilling started, and we were sitting there, and we're like, who are they going to bring in to close the game out? And it's like, please don't bring Kim in again, like you were hoping they would. And then they show the camera, and it pans over, and Randy's warming up to come in for the save. And you're like, this is done. All right, this is done. This guy is like the best left-handed pitcher of all time, probably. I'm like, he's just an animal. So it was a great series. But, we didn't have a bunch of big boppers, but they signed a bunch of veterans, and that was their formula to bring in bring people in. And just like the Marlins, just like other teams, they broke it up like maybe a couple years later.
Oh, the Marlins.
All right. So back to what you just said, though. So Randy Johnson, you think he was better than Carl Hubble and Warren Spahn and Lefty Grove?
I think you have to look in their time. I mean, I'm saying that, and he's certainly in the top. I mean, yeah, Grove,
Steve
Spahn,
Carlton.
Spahn,
I left him up.
Those are the 5, right? It's Grove, it's Hubble, it's Spahn, it's Johnson, it's Carlton.
Yeah, they're all certainly in the conversation.
And Koufax.
Right? Oh yeah,
but
duh.
I just think, though, like when you really look at it, as dominating as Hubble was, Randy Johnson in his prime was more dominating. Grove, but Johnson has like the second most strikeouts. You think Nolan Ryan's strikeout record is unattainable, but Johnson's not that far behind. The guy was just out of control. And
he was insanely good. There's no question.
And I'm not saying that because I'm a Diamondback fan, but it's just, when you're talking about the guys you're mentioning, John, the closest in time here is like Steve Carlton, and that's like 40 years earlier. Well, 30 years earlier.
Steve Carlton, an amazing pitcher. But you know what? He wasn't able to pluck a bird out of thin air.
Yeah. He just boom, that bird just exploded.
That was a little hard to watch. That thing just incinerated.
Yeah. You know who I gotta say was amazing on that Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling level? When they reached the World Series, Roy Halladay. My goodness, what did he do? A no-hitter, I think, in the World Series or something with the Phillies. Like that guy hit the big stage with the Phillies.
That was in the playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah.
In the playoffs, and then
Don Larson's still the only guy to do it in a World Series.
That guy was just a throwback. I remember on SportsCenter, I'd be out at a bar hanging out with the buddies, and all of a sudden they pop up like, Roy Halladay threw his 3rd complete game of the year. And I'm like, my God, this guy is like, and the next thing you know, he's got like double-digit complete games.
Yeah, insanely good, right? And then he died tragically.
Very tragically. But I remember him and Cliff Lee. You couldn't touch those two, man. They were like in their prime. Like there was no touching them. Curt Schilling, Randy Johnson. Those two were amazing. I guess in 95, you got the threesome of Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox. Good luck trying to get a run off of them.
Except they always lost the World Series.
Well, not in 95.
No, 1 out of how many? 7? But that team was, with that pitching staff, it was unbelievable that they were losing those World Series.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that pitching staff, I don't think.
No, that was probably the best staff, top to bottom.
You were talking about Roy Halladay. I'm looking at. I have a refractor up there and a display of him coming off, shaking the hand that memorializes that playoff game. Doc there.
Yeah, and then Avery too, I remember, was part of that. It was like Avery was almost on that level. He was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Right after you get the 3, you still got to deal with Avery. Yeah, I can't remember too many pitching staffs that that were like amazing. Like,
well, you have to go back probably to the Baltimore Orioles when they had when they had 4 20-game winners.
Yeah, they had.
It was Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar,
Mike McCormick.
Mike McCormick.
No, maybe I'm wrong.
Man, I'm trying to.
Palmer.
Shoot. It'll come to me.
Senior moments.
Yeah, for
Dave
real.
McNally. Yes, thank you, Sammy. And
Dave
Pat Dawson.
McNally,
Pat
Mike
Dobson.
Cuellar, Jim Palmer, and there was another one.
Pat Dobson, is it?
Yeah.
Pat Dobson, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And
That
then
was-
in '79, they had Mike Flanagan. He was a hell of a pitcher.
He was.
and then you got the Dodgers when no one could hit Hershiser. That guy was
Oh, that Hershey. Oh man, that was magical. That was magical.
what was it, 56 consecutive innings scoreless? That was like he was just riding high then.
he was he was he was given a run to the Drysdale record, right? He didn't break it though, did he?
He broke it.
Oh, he
I
did break it.
He did break it. Yeah.
Well, then it had to be more than you're saying because Drysdale wasn't it? What? Well, I don't know. Wasn't it in the 60s or 58? I forget. We'll have to look it up.
Yeah, but no, he broke the record. It was like that time, like every team, like Saberhagen the year before, right? 88, right? 88 was the Dodgers and Hershiser. And like in 85, it was Saberhagen. Saberhagen got hot and just dominated, and the Royals won the World Series. And,
Yeah, he was,
man.
These guys get real super dominant for a short period. There was a time where Bruce Sutter was unhittable.
Eckersley, the A's was unhittable. When he was in his prime, Eckersley,
yes,
you could touch him. No.
Nobody but Kirk Gibson.
Yeah, Eckersley, though, I mean, I love Eck, but like he was the first guy who was doing like a 1/3 of an inning save. Like it was like 1/3 of an inning, really. They would bring him in, and he won the MVP and all this stuff, but it's like they'd have Stewart. Stu would go out and pitch like 8 innings, and then they bring in Rick Honeycutt for 2/3 of an inning, and they bring in what's his nuts for 1/3 of an inning. I'm like, 1/3 of an inning save, really? Like, come on, man. Like,
and there was a period, Dan Quisenberry.
Yeah, Quisenberry.
Yeah.
He was great. He was the underarm, like he pitched sidearm, but it was almost like scraping his knuckles on the dirt.
Yeah, it was similar to Kent Tekulve.
Yeah, that was
Kent Tekulve was another great closer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you got like Guidry. I think he was great that year. The one year he was like unbeatable. Doc Gooden in '86 was tough to beat. Him and Roger Clemens was.
Well, how about Eric Gagne? What do you have? 84 saves in a row?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, but Roger Clemens and Gooden was a great matchup.
Yeah. How about Bobby Thinktank? Remember that monster year he had where he broke the single season record?
56 saves, man. It was.
How about K-Rod?
K-Rod, yeah, he was.
K-Rod, he was exciting in that 2002 World Series as a rookie. He really made he was exciting, man.
Yeah.
Man.
We got everybody throwing out pitches now. Lee Smith,
Lee Smith, yep.
Mad Hungarian.
Well, Mad Hungarian, I don't know about the end of his career, but he was a starter.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of great memories with the World Series, man. I'm so excited for this one. I'm just hoping it lives up to, all the excitement that's building up right now, because it would suck if someone.
Dude, it's going to live up to it. It's going to live up to it.
I hope so.
Either way, if Judge and Ohtani strike out every single time they're up, we'll have that to talk about. That'll be exciting in and of itself. Either way, if they play like crap, it'll be memorable, and if they play great, it'll be memorable.
It's probably going to be the most watched World Series ever.
Well, in my opinion, and we certainly have many years to go where they could repeat, but this is going to have a big deal, a big factor in their legacies, because it always does. The knock on A-Rod was he couldn't play in the postseason. The knock on Bonds was that he couldn't play in the postseason. On and on and on. And then you have a guy like Reggie, who shines in the World Series and is elevated.
Yeah, nobody cares about what happened. I mean, in these ALNLCSs or whatever, but are you going to be a Clemente in the World Series, or are you going to be a Greg Maddux? Now, both are all-time great players, but man, Greg Maddux had problems in the World Series. Are you going to be a Henry Aaron, or are you going to be a Clayton Kershaw? He's got problems. Some of these guys, like big players, play big in big games, and this This is it. You know, all that the poor, you know, at bats that Judge had, those are all out the window now. Like, right? Otani didn't do very well. That's out the window, man. They're going to remember what you do right now coming up.
So, like, I guess revisiting the championship series and the wild card and everything, they wanted parity and they got parity. You had the Tigers in there, the Royals in there. You had a lot of teams. Last year, had Arizona going to the World Series. Like, is this what you think is great now for baseball, parity?
Yeah, absolutely.
Soon we'll see the Pirates, maybe.
Except, yeah, we don't have parity. So, yeah, I'd love to see parity.
I don't mind parity. I just don't like all these teams making the playoffs. This is a 162 game season. This isn't hockey or basketball. Like half the teams make it, you know, and then you put the teams that have worked hard all year at a disadvantage. I mean, how does it make any sense? I'm sorry, I got an opinion. How does it make any sense that a team that won their division has to play in a 3-game series after playing 162 games? This is baseball. This is not meant for 3-game series. This is 7 games at minimum 5. Like, it's just not, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they could do about this, but I know they want to create the excitement. They're creating it's like the short-term like high. They're creating this short-term high for all these markets that are not going anywhere. And then the real excitement is when we have a series like the Yankees and the Dodgers, 7 games. We know, you know what I mean? Like, can you make more money off that or all these little 3-game series and play-in games and stuff? I don't know.
I'm just glad they don't have the stupid 1-game playoff anymore.
Yeah, like what? You play all season, and it's like it's a different
way. Well, they
way.
can go back to the old days where they didn't have playoffs, and you know, but they're not going to do that. They got to play as many games as possible to make that bank, baby. You can't pay guys $100 million without TV rights and selling some tickets.
Right. And then Jason is saying the 2 highest paid rosters in an MLB are in the World Series. Is that truly parity?
No, there's no parity in
But this is the first time this has happened.
Just because somebody new's going or something.
This is the first. Look it up. This is the first time it's happened in so long. Rangers, Diamondbacks last year.
Oh yeah, the New York. Well, it might be for both teams, but you're going to try to tell me the Yankees haven't been in 100 World Series because they were able to have a salary the way they had. I mean, I remember when they signed A-Rod. They signed him for like $26 million, and the entire Pirates payroll was $9 million at the time. One player made almost 3 times what the entire Pirates were paying.
Success, though. They haven't. James knows acutely. The Yankees haven't been there for a long time, even though the payroll's high. The team that's the exception to this payroll thing is the Dodgers. They've spent a lot of money, and they make the playoffs, and they've won a World Series recently. They're pretty good in spending their money. Remember the Orioles who used to spend all their money, like Albert Bell and all these other people, and we just laugh because they never go anywhere.
Well, I mean, just because you spend the money, you still got to have the players. You still got to have a good team and a good manager and all that good stuff. But it certainly gives you an advantage.
No, I know
when you can sign Juan Soto for $100 million or whatever.
Theoretically, I wish that baseball would do something like the NBA does, where they try to keep the homegrown stars in their markets, and that's the team that can pay them way more money and not be punished against the cap. Like Bobby Witt needs to stay in Kansas City. I'm not saying Juan Soto needed to stay in Washington, but he won a World Series there, and now he's plopping from team to team to team. Like, it's just better for the game when the guys stay with their homegrown teams. Like the NBA has encouraged this by giving every advantage to the team that drafted them. In baseball, it would be better if that was the case, in my opinion, because then the guys are playing for the same team for a much longer amount of time, and they can be competitive. Like if Paul Skeens, you don't want Paul Skeens to be suddenly, you know, in 4 or 5 years, it's like, well, is he going to the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, or San Francisco?
Well, the Pirates will sell him sooner than that, so you can't use the Pirates as an example.
Well, what I'm saying
they sell anybody that has talent.
The fact that you just said that and it came to your mind like it was a foregone conclusion. That sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, I know. It really hurts fans the way things are today, because you don't get to root for a player in most cases your entire life, their entire career.
But
In football, they do a pretty good job. Like if you're a Steeler fan, you got to see Big Ben, your quarterback, your whole career. And Tom Brady, if you're a Patriot fan, until the last couple of years there. But at least you got him that long. And I think it hurts if we want to bring it back to the card thing, the card topic. I think it hurts their collectability. It hurts how many people truly love them when they bounce around to 5 different teams over the course of their career.
Well, it's affected Juan Soto's collectability. Like I've been working some shows, and I kept my modern group and my vintage group, and so I had a bunch of Soto rookie debuts in 10s. I had the gold refractor, but I sold out. I had a refractor number to 250, the gold, the rainbow foil, blah blah blah. I haven't been able to sell them until recently. I sold them, but it's like Soto cards just kind of sit. Judge cards fly off. Ohtani flies. Skeens flies. These guys are all with one team. They're not changing teams. I mean, I have a friend. He's a huge Padres fan. His wife actually works for AJ Preller in spring training. She's the assistant for Preller here, and he was collecting Soto a lot because he's all excited about it being on the Padres, and then he goes to the Yankees, and it's like, well, shit, So
there's nothing worse than when you load up on a guy on your team and then he's gone. Like, it sucks.
It's true. I gotta admit, like, I'm a Knicks fan and I'm going off baseball, but I don't care for any of Jalen Brunson's rookie cards because he's wearing Dallas. I just want them in my blue and orange. Yeah. And that's that. I'll wait till the autograph versions come out in Knicks jersey. And the same thing's gonna happen with Mikal Bridges and Towns. I gotta wait till now the New York versions come out for me to feel prideful about picking up something of theirs.
Well, you hit something good. I mean, like as a Steeler fan, having Jerome Bettis rookie cards in a Rams uniform, or having Minkah Fitzpatrick in a Dolphins uniform, it makes the rookie card far less special, far less.
I mean,
when it's on a different team than yours.
For example, I just picked this up. I guess I'll make mine bigger so you can see it. Derrick Henry, who's hot right now. Like, this guy just had like 190 yards rushing last week. His rookie
fantastic back.
Autographed to 49, but he's in a Titans uniform. I don't know if people are going to want this or clamor for it. I mean,
if they're good enough, you'll want them no matter what. Yeah. I mean, what uniform is Roger Maris in his rookie card?
It's true.
You still want it, but it's the fringe people or the guys that just have maybe a few short good years or whatever. Their long-term collectability, I think, is diminished. Whereas, a guy that plays, 10 years for the Steelers or 15 years for the Pirates, and they were a middle of the road, good player that local fans love. You still, you still want to collect those kinds of players, but not if in 15 years they played for 7 different teams.
Yeah. Would Freddie Freeman be more or less collectible if he remain with the Braves? I don't know.
That depends on how he does in this World Series, I think, but probably more collectible with the Braves because they have a diehard fan base, and I would say, aside from him being some kind of hero coming up here, probably if he stayed with the Braves.
I think he's equally collectible. I mean, I think that he went from one really good organization to another really good organization.
But you have to understand that his cards were never anything but cheap. I mean, he never got his due. His cards never got their due.
He's going to be one of these guys. You're going to wake up one day and they're going to be talking about Freddie Freeman is like, he's going to be the first guy with like 500 doubles and 3,000 hits and 1,800 RBIs since like Hank Aaron. And
there's no doubt, and people are going to be scrambling around when he makes first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's most consistent hitter that I can think of in the last like 10 years. The dude's just nails. I mean, 340 doubles, 28 home runs.
I don't know what it is about him. He seems to kind of lack the charisma of a lot of the other stars with his talent. Do you think so?
Well, he seems to be surrounded by a lot of talent. He was on the Braves and playing second fiddle to Acuna. There you go. the Braves had a lot of talent, and then he's just a workman type dude, man. I mean, he's kind of like a rich man's Will Clark. Like he's better
Yeah.
than Will Clark, and not as pretty of a swing, kind of an ugly swing, frankly, slap swing. But yeah, it's like I don't know why people don't accept him, but sooner or later they are, because you look at the numbers. If he keeps getting, I mean, not that he's Pete Rose, but he keeps getting like 175 to 200 hits a year, just every year.
Yeah, man, he's really good, and it just some guys just don't get any hobby love. Doesn't matter if they're good. I don't think Mookie Betts gets a whole lot of hobby love, as good as he is.
No, he gets some love. I think he gets love.
What do you sell his cards for? Well, maybe if it's a refractor PSA 11.
I agree.
Regular rookie cards, I mean, they don't go for much.
There's some love for him, but there's not like, again, Paul Skeens, Aaron Judge. I don't have any more Shoheis. I sold them all. They're all gone.
Yeah,
I mean, like, can't keep them. They go.
Well, Shohei's he's Mr. Worldwide, baby. They're probably collecting him in Spain.
I had a ton of
all over the world.
Ohtani, you can't keep him. Judge, but you know what's funny? Ellie De La Cruz can't keep him down. He's another one. You can't keep him down. It's like some people that are just electric. Like they have to be.
Ellie is electric, man.
Yeah,
it's hard not to be a fan of his if you watch him play.
He's like
he has
Michael
that
Vick
X factor too.
Who's that? Who's that, George?
He's like the Michael Vick of baseball.
That's
like just electric and fun, but it's like I don't see him turning in. And you could play this like a year from now when Ellie is going 50-50, but I'm not seeing him long term being like a super great ball player. Maybe a fantasy guy,
Why do you say that?
Well, he strikes out way too much, doesn't make contact, doesn't move guys over, doesn't set the table. I don't know. I just don't see him. He's electric. I don't even know at shortstop. He's bigger than O'Neal Cruz, and O'Neal Cruz is really developed. He did really well this year. Ellie steals a lot of bases, but he can't steal.
O'Neal Cruz strikes out a lot too.
That's true.
I mean, a lot of the modern players do. I mean, Babe Ruth at the time of his retirement had struck out more than anybody in history. Mickey Mantle at the time of his retirement had struck out more than anybody in history. Reggie Jackson at the time of his retirement had struck out more than anybody in history.
Yeah, but these guys have way more power than Ellie De La Cruz.
Ellie has a lot of power.
No, if he has a lot of power hitting the ball sometimes. He might have one of the longest StatCast home runs.
He flies too.
He flies. I mean,
if he ever can get away from striking out so much, all he has to do is make contact. He's gonna beat a lot of stuff out.
I'll tell you what, though.
You got to put the ball in play, though, to do that.
Yeah, you can't steal first base. It's like Harold Reynolds. They used to say in his rotisserie baseball book about Harold Reynolds, he steal bases. It says you can't steal first base. Right. And Harold Reynolds changed his swing, and then he ended up hitting 300, stealing 50 bases.
I'll tell you this much, though. Ohtani did something this year that was amazing, 50-50. I could actually see Ellie doing 50-50. Maybe in a couple more years, but I could see him with his easy speed, easy power. I could see him doing 50.
Well, here's the thing. Is he gifted. He's gifted athletically, and they say he is the hardest working player on the Reds. I have heard that he's always like practicing more than everybody else, first there, last to go home, practices late. He supposedly has a really good work ethic or desire to be better. And I think with his skill set and what he's already showing, that if he has the desire to be better, that he will. There was another player in the NFL like that who wasn't all that great. He got booed when he had great work ethic, would run routes, and thus became Jerry Rice. He got booed.
Do you remember Darryl Strawberry, how free and easy his home run swing was? It was like a golf swing, but it's like effortless, and that thing would just jump off his bat. That's what Ellie's home run power looks like to me. Like
Darryl Strawberry to me was the prettiest swing ever. I know every time I say that, people say Ken Griffey Jr. or Ted Williams, but to me, man, Strawberry's swing was the prettiest, most graceful.
My favorite thing was when the Yankees got Strawberry. in the trade, or they picked him up. I forgot the particulars, but when they got him, they played the Mariners like when they came to Yankee Stadium. And Strawberry took batting practice. Griffey stopped everything what he was doing, ran to the dugout, and he just wanted to see Darryl Strawberry hit homers. And he was bashing them into the black, all the way back there. And Griffey was like, "Dang, he still has it."
I'll tell you what, there wasn't there weren't too many ball players with more talent than him. If he was stayed on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, if they had the StatCast stuff, you would have seen like how long his home runs were, how hard he would throw it in from the outfield. I mean, he was, man. He just never. He had a great career, but you just kind of expected him to like take that leap.
I'll tell you what, growing up in Pittsburgh, not being Mets fans at all, me and all my friends, I mean, everybody wanted to watch the Mets with him and Doc. Those were exciting times. Everybody was a Met fan.
Doc Gooden, if he stayed on the straight and narrow,
same deal. Those two are tragic. They're tragic for us fans, but we're also blessed to have gotten to watch him play, even if it was for a short period of time in their prime.
I would say the other tragic guy is Josh Hamilton. My God, that guy was pure, just gifted talent. Like when he put it all together, what was in 2000? Oh my God, that MVP year he had, he could do no wrong that year with Texas. And then he goes to Yankee Stadium and puts on a show at the Home Run Derby, hitting the back wall, the Budweiser wall. Oh my God, Josh Hamilton.
So, hey guys, what do you brought something? You reminded me of something. Why do you think like certain guys will have a fantastic rookie season and then do pretty much nothing after that? I'm just asking that because in baseball, like you would think your rookie season would be the most difficult year to be good. You would think that maybe your second or your third or your fourth would be your best year. But why do we see these guys come out and just have monster rookie seasons and then, you get all excited about them, you load up on their rookie cards and they don't do a whole lot after that. Your Jason Bays, your Joe Charbonneaus, those types of players. Last year, Benintendi, he had a great rookie season and just fell off. Corbin Carroll started to come on at the end there, but I mean, nothing like his rookie season. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Do you think people? Do you think like coaches and pitchers just get their number and learn their weaknesses, or what?
I personally think they had that one moment where everything clicked and they could not find it again. I mean, there was so many. David Price, when he first came up, oh my God, he was on that level. Like Strasburg and Keel was supposed to be that next pitcher that he just got the yips and that was it. Like he couldn't pitch no more. There's so many players that came up as rookies. Kevin Moss with the Yankees, my God, 20 runs and couldn't even hit a ball after that.
Matty Noakes. The guy with jack bombs. Anyway,
40 runs, right?
Yeah, I think along the lines of what you're saying, not the only reason, James, but yeah, the mental game of baseball is the mental game is so much more important in baseball than it is in these other sports, because the other sports, there's so much more activity going on and so many more chances for redemption immediately. Like Brett Favre, I joke, Brett Favre throws a lot of picks and he just keeps throwing. He keeps throwing. Shooter keeps shooting. But in baseball, he's only going to have 4 to 5 chances a game, and then he's going to have to sit on it, until the next day. And it's just like it's a game of like millimeters. It's not a game of inches. It's not a game of feet. It's a game of millimeters. And it's like these small little things. And then if you keep making the same mistakes, then you start to get down on yourself. And then you get down on yourself. And then, Corbin Carroll of Diamondbacks, John, like you had said, he had a great season last year. This year, I really wasn't tracking him as much. We went to a game in like late June. And I looked up, he was batting like 8th or 9th, and he had 2 home runs. Mm-hmm. This was a guy, when you're a rookie, they bring you up. They don't throw you right in and hit you number 4. They're going to put you like 8, 9. You work your way up. But the next season, everybody thinks you're great, so they pencil you in at 3, 4, 5 in the lineup. More pressure. I mean, they're going to get the book on you too. And the book these days, it's all just video.
Yeah.
This isn't like back in the day. Tony Gwynn was the first guy, right, to use VHS tapes of all the pictures, a whole wall of them. And now it's just like you pull it up on your phone. Even between at bats, they're looking at stuff. So, I think you can fool them. You can fool them in your rookie year, but you can't keep fooling them. You have to be legitimately, consistently good and mentally stable to continuously be like a Juan Soto, a Bobby Witt. You wonder with Bobby Witt, like, was that just a flash in the pan last year? Hell no. That guy.
Yeah, like he's proven it wasn't. But, every year there's one or two great rookies that tear it up, and some, probably most of them never live up to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Juan Samuel, Kevin McReynolds syndrome. It's just like we all have these guys we grew up with. They're okay, but Matt Harvey and some pitchers are difficult because they have arm problems, and it's hard with a pitcher to assess them because you're like, oh, he's recovering from the arm problem,
Yeah.
But
with a hitter, Bud Smith, that was another one.
Who?
Remember Bud Smith?
Oh, Bud Norris.
Huh? Bud
Norris?
Wasn't it Bud Smith for the Cardinals?
Oh, okay, yeah. There was an Astros pitcher named Bud Norris who's the same way.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I remember Gary Sanchez when his rookie year, he had 20 bombs, and we thought he was going to be the Kraken got released and everything. And that's it. He was just a strikeout artist flailing at freaking sliders. It was embarrassing.
When you're a catcher, everybody is like, thank God we got a catcher who can hit. Like, oh my God, we got a catcher who can hit. I mean, a catcher that can hit is like, I mean, geez, that's like everything.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being a strikeout machine. Defensively, he's a liability. He's slow. He's late. Well, I don't know if he's lazy, but anyway, you're like, how'd this happen?
Gunnar Henderson surprised me because I remember last year I had the opportunity to buy a lot of his cards. And I was like, I don't know. Let's see him do it again. And then this year, he exceeded that and became an MVP candidate.
Well, he was not showing the power last year that he showed this year.
Oh, yeah.
He was looking like a slap singles hitter last year.
Man, he's got a sweet swing, though. He really does.
Yeah, man. He's tearing it up. And, that's what you expect to see. It's like most people are better at something after they've been doing it a little while, not the first time they do it. That's what's unusual about the rookie thing, where they have a really great year and then they never live up to it again.
What's
just in general, like sometimes somebody will have they'll just have a breakout for a couple of years. Like you look at Brady Anderson. I mean, hitting 50 home runs back then was unheard of.
It was just
then what? He never hit more than 20 some again, right?
No,
other than that one year.
When Pujols, his rookie year, he destroyed baseball.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not invested yet. I got to see him do it again. My God, did I have to eat my words because he became like the next best thing for 11 years.
Well, I'll tell you, he and Ichiro coming up, I had just started to collect. I had pulled all my stuff. My parents were moving, and I had to move all my cards into my house shortly after I got married, much to my wife's chagrin. And so that's when I started collecting again after a little bit of a layoff. And my God, was that exciting. I mean, you named me two more exciting rookies than Pujols and Ichiro.
I think the closest thing could have been just recently Judge and Bellinger. Because in the National
yes. But Bellinger, there's another one. Phenomenal rookie year and fell off.
Well, I'm not convinced
Chris Bryant
off the map yet.
Chris Bryant too.
Chris Bryant's a good one.
God,
he didn't quite fall off, but he just didn't.
I mean, these guys, no, they're not bad players, but they're nowhere near what we were expecting after watching them their rookie seasons.
It's true.
Chris Bryant just fell off the face of the earth. I mean, I'm going to look up something real quick, guys. Just
Cody Bellinger, man, I was loading up on him and Judge. Cody Bellinger, he was so exciting his rookie season.
He
last
was.
year, real quick, in Colorado last year. Now, Chris Bryant's been in Colorado for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You thought, oh boy, he's been in Colorado now for 3 seasons, 22 through 24. Last year, negative 0.7 WAR, 218 batting average in 133 at bats, and 2 home runs. It's really like, wow.
Only 2 home runs.
This guy was.
Are you kidding?
Like he was the Cubs. Like he's the one who fielded the ball for Rizzo to end the World Series. Like everything was lined up for him to be like the Cubs' greatest, like one of the greatest Cubs ever, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't work out that way.
Yeah, we were all buying his card.
John, you said before.
Go ahead.
Oh, shit. Let's say, John, you said you wanted to talk about something before this, or no? You want to hold off on card topics?
Was it cards?
Was it opening an unopened pack of 1967 Topps cards?
I think it was.
Did that grind your gears, John?
Oh, it didn't grind my gears. It's just, I don't give it, I don't care what somebody does with their money. That's up to them. Some of it's hard to watch, but
yeah.
It's just hilarious how much somebody will spend on something and get absolutely nothing. The only thing that really bothered me about it, to be honest with you, is he's the number one name in the hobby, and he never saw a 1966 Topps poster before. Like he doesn't even know that exists, and he's our biggest expert. That bothered me.
Well, I told you he doesn't know much about vintage because when I spoke to him, I asked him, I've told you this, but I basically asked him, what else do you collect other than modern? He was like, oh, you mean vintage? And I was like, yeah, what do you got vintage? Right? I can't really get invested into players I never saw play. And I went, huh?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that think that, and I'm not going to knock somebody for that. But, if you're going to be the card expert, you should know something about cards. I've seen so many things that like that, where he's never seen it before. And it's like a card everybody knows.
Right.
I think
but in his defense, he just started collecting it during the boom.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like
or selling. I shouldn't say collecting, selling.
It's like a lot of things in life, if you don't need to tell people that you're a good guy. You don't need to tell people you're an expert. You don't need to tell people things. You just are who you are, and they will see you as that if they find it to be that way. Like I had this one fraudster guy trying to tell me one time, yeah, I'm a good guy. I come from a good family. We're good people. And that's like, you don't need
those are the people that scam you.
Yeah, you don't need people to tell you this.
I grew up in a middle-class family.
You just watch the way they act and you see what they do. And I mean, yeah, if you're a younger person, maybe you fall into the spell of this a lot more. But yeah, I think, John,
I'd almost rather somebody was rude to me or, I didn't care for their personality because at least I know they're real. At least I know they're being who they are.
Well, I mean, we all know a snake oil salesman, I would think, when we see one. We all know like an opportunist, I mean, and some opportunists, are great. P.T. Barnum was whatever. But it's like, I guess there's more eyes on the hobby now, and that's great. But, to take these 1960s wax packs out of the wild and basically like an endangered species, slay them, and how many more of them are there out there?
Just to get tens, and then he probably threw them away because he didn't pull anything good.
Yeah, and I understand.
He literally probably threw them away because I'm sure he doesn't want those cards.
But people do this for the breaks, and all that. But like, there's only a finite amount of these cards out there, whether it's a 77 wax pack, a 67, whatever, 86 Fleer. There's a finite amount of them. So, I mean, open them at your buyer beware, because we all know that the quality control was terrible. So, I mean, I don't know if you saw, this is years ago, like when Wilson first started, right? Within a year or whatever, he and a buddy opened an 88 Fleer wax box of basketball, thinking that it was loaded with, and it was, experiment, and they opened it and they submitted about, I don't know, 100 of the cards. And I don't think any of them got 10s. So, open this stuff at your own risk. It's the quality control.
Yeah, like paying $10,000 for 1988 Fleer basketball and sending them all in to pay for grading. But here's the thing, George, and you hit on it. You were talking about Barnum and Bailey. Were you talking about Barnum and Bailey?
Yeah, P.T. Barnum. Yeah, Bailey. Yeah.
So here's the difference with him and others like him, is that some of the best things we have were created by these guys. Would we have a computer without Steve Jobs? Like, he gave us something that we didn't even know we needed. You could Henry Ford gave us something nobody realized they needed, or whatever. They changed the world. They give you products that you line up to own. I line up to own an iPhone. That was a product I didn't even know I needed. He doesn't give us anything we need. That's the problem. It's very one-sided. What does he give us that we need, or that we needed? And I'm open-minded about this. Tell me.
Well,
what did he give us that we needed? Like, what?
It's entertainment. That's what it is.
How has it helped us as collectors? Has it helped us or hurt us?
You can prey on the collectors, the psychology of the collector, right? Collectors love to have stuff that has not just intrinsic value, but extrinsic value, right? They love to have things that become valuable. In 1982, this Fernando was probably worth more than it is right now, honestly, because he was hot. But like, oh, I've got this card of this guy. Look at this Fernando I got. He tries to pump up certain cards. Maybe cards.
But they always go down.
Yeah, and the thing is,
I mean, that's the absurdity. Like, why would anybody listen twice?
Buyer beware. I mean, if you follow the Pied Piper, be ready. Sometimes to fall in the lake. He's going to lead you. He's not going to lead you to financial gain, and you shouldn't be. Well, everybody can be in the hobby for different reasons, but
right. But I'm saying, like, do you think that? I'm asking the question. Do you think the collectors are better off with him, or worse off?
Well, I mean, a collector is. I don't know the age group. It seems like he's gears. I couldn't imagine somebody of our age kind of prescribing to this snake oil. I really couldn't. I see more younger people on the channel, more younger responders.
Right. But don't you think it affects the hobby that eventually affects us? He is spawning all these snake oil salesmen.
Yeah. Well,
he's spawning them all.
What I want is people
who never saw a card before.
Yeah, I want people to be in the hobby long term. Like James and I do these shows, and some of them are really big shows, and some of them are small. But you want kids to be there. You want people to stay in the hobby. You don't want people to buy a bunch of Juan Samuels, expecting them to be Mike Trouts, because they're prospecting, and then they lose all their money, and then they leave and never come back to the hobby.
Right.
I want people to stay in the hobby. The life of the hobby is the kids. And it's like, the sooner that we all get this through our thick skulls, the better, honestly, whether you're Jeff Wilson or whoever. The kids are the reason. I mean, and I'm not saying kids need to have a good experience. Like, really, the best thing for a kid is to get a pack.
But they're the ones hustling more than anybody now.
They are hustling.
They're the ones hustling you at the shows.
They are hustling.
Because they're learning this shit.
Yeah.
They take the baton from Jeff Wilson doing his trade nights and trading this, trading that. And they get inspired, and they come up to me all the time trying to trade their base card. Here's 3 base cards. I want your parallel Justin Jefferson card. And I'm looking at them like, kid, I'm so for the kids, but not crazy. Like, get out of here,
It's like the movie Independence Day. He's the mothership, and then all those little ships come out at us.
Man, I feel like this is a bad Atari game.
Right.
Yeah, you can't stop it, all the minions. But I mean, like what was I going to say? I feel like if you're it's good for business in a way. You're teaching the kids about like commodities trading, right?
Right.
But commodities trading and collecting are two majorly different things, right? You might buy like I might buy a Jackie because like okay, I bought this Jackie, and this is for you, John, because you said you didn't have a 50. I bought this Jackie because I love the card. I didn't buy the Jackie because I thought, well, boy, in 5 years, it's going to be worth more money. It happened to be worth more money. That's great. But like I'm collecting from a collector perspective, semi-investor, but mostly collector. If
there's nothing wrong with investing. I don't want this to come across as anything against selling or dealing or anything like that. It's just, I think the best people, the most respected people, want to give you something you want, not try to get over on you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like James and I both do this.
You know what I'm saying?
My thing with Jeff Wilson is he's getting out of it how much he's putting in. He got a studio going. He got a crew going. He has a crew following him around at the shows. He invests a lot of his money into it. So in return, he's getting back what he's putting into it. So it's admirable what he's doing as far as like within a short amount of time where he's gone to. And that happens with a lot of other people, Mojo Sports and all these people. They put in a lot and their channels blow up.
Well, you could say the same thing about Fanatics. They overnight became the monopoly.
Right. But it's like you just got to be smart and understand that's entertainment. They're not the ones like you would listen to John Mangini, which is why you have your following, your cult following, voting.
Nobody should listen to
You're going to be the president, of the hobby, and you're going to overturn this whole thing over, But people follow you if they want sound advice. They're not going to follow Jeff Wilson if they want sound advice.
Yeah, they want people that they could talk to. They don't want to say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And then the person says, "Well, hold on, let me look up the comps on my computer." They want somebody to be like, "Have you seen this?" "Oh yeah," like John, when I texted you something, this is a little while ago, maybe more than a year ago. I said, "What is this?" And you're like, "Oh, that's a cash-in." Okay, boom. Like the knowledge. Yeah. We're there for the knowledge, and we're learning from each other. Hopefully, we're not any of us are purporting to be experts on everything.
Yeah,
and that's just we're learning.
Or like you remember that time you had those. I think they. I think they were from 1978. You had those uncut sheets, and you thought they were from uncut from the factory or something.
Yeah, I thought it was like a salesman sample, but you said it was from Dynamite magazine.
Yeah, I'm like, I opened those. I got those out of a magazine myself as a little kid. Yeah, they came in Dynamite magazine. Yeah, but everybody on eBay, they try to pawn them off as tops, test proofs or whatever. Uncut.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was, and I looked it up, and you're exactly right. There's the first issue of Dynamite magazine with Jimmy Walker on it, and but I'm saying we're all nobody knows everything. We're all learning from each other.
Of course not. There's way too much to know.
Let me look. I mean, if we're doing a deal, let me look up the comparable prices. But it's not, well, we can flip this or do that. It's like it's about sharing knowledge.
I'll tell you what, though.
Without selling it, we're not selling our knowledge.
Before I make Jeff Wilson the evil empire.
No, I'm not saying that.
No.
I'm not either.
No, but I'm just saying, as far as like the hobby being, steered wrong, he's not. He's entertainment. The people steering it wrong for me, as I'm noticing lately, are these repackers and not breakers, but they want you to buy into some of their breaks to hopefully get these big cards, because everyone's worried about after they get that card that it's gonna flip a 10. And it's like this mindset is not about
what?
That what?
After they get that card, it's going to what?
They're hoping it's going to flip a 10. It's popping a 10, a PSA 10.
Oh,
of course, that's all that matters. The whole grading thing,
right? So
makes me want to leave the hobby.
It's and then I got to deal with all these people now. Now I got people calling me up, trying to sell me all their PSA 9s, and I've never dealt with having to turn down so many people where 9s are considered worthless.
9s are the new junk wax.
I just
Nobody wants a 9 in a modern card. That's junk.
and I can't take it, honestly. I can't take it because I'm like, when I got in this hobby back in 2018 or whenever it was, 8s were considered like raw and 9s were you did good. Like if you're in the 40% out where you get a 9, and then the 10s are like 10% out.
Yeah, but what you're looking at it from a collector's viewpoint. If I get a 9, I'm thrilled. If I get an 8, I'm thrilled. If I get a 7, I'm thrilled. Because I want a nice looking copy of the card, and I don't care what that number is. But these guys are only trying to make that bank with 10s. 10s, 10s.
That's the thing.
That's where the money's at.
But
and who are the fools paying up for these things 1,000 times more?
But
they're not collectors.
All of the people to think that don't invest in 9s. That's fool's gold. That's garbage. I'd rather have a raw card because that raw card might flip a 10. And I'm like, what are you, stupid? Like that raw card, for the most part, will get you in between an 8 or a 9. Like getting a 10 is like super hard. Like you gotta, inspect it, hope it's centered. It's so
I don't know how hard it can be. I watch hundreds of videos where they get 9 out of 10 10s. I mean, they're brand new cards out of a pack.
Back in the old
waxing and putting Kurt's card jizz on before they even send it in.
That's why. Listen, man, I just picked up some cards recently. That's why I love vintage. Look at that thing. It's a 2.5, but gosh, it's centered. It's Ted Williams. It's a gorgeous card.
All center cards.
Well, grading for vintage and grading for modern. They're night and day. It should be two different hobbies. Because how do you compare grading a 1956 card to one right out of the pack?
That's why I love vintage, because there's less of that crap you got to deal with. It's not a 10, so it's garbage in my eyes.
Yeah. So Jeff did a video, and he went to this guy. I don't know if you guys saw it. He had trunks filled with. He knew every athlete ever. He have Muhammad Ali sign his trunks to him that he fought Foreman or something. And he had this for every major athlete of the 20th century. Jackie Robinson game used items, signed items, this and that. He had everything. He had trunks, and he made them wear white gloves, and he wasn't allowed to touch anything. And they went through just a few of the trunks. He had a warehouse, and he had some main cards like T206 Honus Wagner, 52.
Are you talking about it's not Jeff Wilson? Jeff Wilson is interviewing somebody
he's interviewing
Marshall Fogel or something like that.
No, this guy was beyond him. So anyway, he didn't have a whole lot of cards, but he did have the biggest cards in the hobby, and they were all in screw downs. And it just struck me as funny because you have here, I don't know, $100 million worth of merchandise in trunks that have been curated by this guy his entire life, and multiple people. He had, multiple people around who helped him get this stuff, and he worked his whole life to get this. And Jeff Wilson said to him, "Why aren't these graded?" And that just epitomizes to me what I hate about the hobby today. He didn't admire the cards. To him they were nothing because he never had the T206 graded or the 52 Mickey Mantle. And the guy took a step back a little bit. He was a little taken back, and he's like, "Well, it's just not that important to me. I look at all this stuff I have. I'm not going to pay to do this too."
Could you imagine?
He's like, "Believe me, they're real."
Could you imagine how much he'd be in the hole if he decided to grade cards of that caliber and send in 100 of them at the same time
and not sell them,
right? Send them?
Well, yeah. I have a strong opinion about this, and it has to do with the fact that I see a lot of older collectors who have raw cards, and they choose they don't have them graded, or they're dealers I know who deal in a lot of raw cards. They're not graded. And I'm not saying you have to grade them, but as we get older, I talked to this one dealer in Long Beach. He didn't sell anything because his prices are too high. He's got a bunch of raw cards. I see him for years. And it's his wife comes. The man's 7. He's a great guy. He's had a couple of issues, though, health issues. And he's like, "I don't care if I didn't sell them. My wife will take care of them." And I'm like, no, you need.
That's a totally different story. You know what? If you want to talk to me about what's going to happen when I'm dead, I'm moving on. I
Well,
don't
no, but
care.
what I'm saying, like your family, like I think the reason to grade cards is there's many reasons. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, but one of the reasons to grade them is they're very fungible once something happens.
But I
Whether
can give
it's-
you an argument why you should wait till the last minute, why you should wait till right before you want to sell them to grade them.
Well, sure, you could,
Because
but I mean,
you don't know what 10, 15 years from now, what grading company is going to be the one. Is there now AI grading and old slabs are shit? Because we know the old slabs from when grading started are shit. And even from what, 5, 6 years ago are shit.
I don't agree with that.
And you don't agree with that? People don't
No.
tell you this is an old slab. I'm not going to give you as much.
No, look at the
PSA
card.
didn't grade as tough.
Look at the card.
And what if they come out with AI grading and you just spent $1 million to grade all my cards, which would cost me. So I spent $1 million to grade all my cards. They come out with AI grading, and now nobody wants the old slab 10 years from now. And my family has to regrade them all anyway.
Well, at least they're in some slabs, so you can be moved more easily, tracked more easily, sold more easily. I'm not saying nobody has to do this.
No, I'm saying that you
like,
should grade them right before you want to sell them.
But it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword because if you're the collector, you don't want to spend 20 grand with PSA just so you could give it to someone and make their life easier. But at the same time, if you take on this collection that's worth $30 million because it has a T206 Honus Wagner, and now to liquidate it, they have to be graded. Like, could you imagine this person now sending them off to PSA and they give them a bill of like $200,000 because they want their cut? Like, George, what do you think PSA would charge for a Honus Wagner being graded nowadays? Like, let's say it flips a 3.
Well, probably what's their, I'm trying to remember the schematic they have. Yeah, I mean they're gonna, what's a 3 gonna be worth? Like a couple million.
A 3 is probably like 10 mil.
10 million. So they're gonna want their cut, and I imagine their cut would be like 500 grand. That's I imagine.
And they're gonna hold
that 5%. That's only 5%. That's not that much, right?
What did they do to deserve that money? What did they do to deserve
we can
that
talk
money?
about upcharges all day long. People are like, oh my God, it doesn't take any longer to grade this card than that card. And
it says Wagner instead of Myers on it.
Yeah,
it's
cut.
Still the same card issue.
I'm dealing with this issue right now, and I'm not going to go in details. I think James knows about this maybe. I'm dealing with a photo right now that's a type 1 photo that I submitted, and they sent me an obscene upcharge for this. Like, and I'm just waiting for them to get back to me to explain to me how they logically get to this, because they basically are upcharging me on this certain photo. They're upcharging me as if it is representative of the finest example that is ever sold of this certain photo. And mine is not.
It's for their insurance, George.
Mine is not.
Insurance purposes.
But I mean, we're in this right now. And most people would say, Heritage has told me, just pay it. We wouldn't get a better deal anyway either. And that's fine. Heritage, it's going to go to Heritage anyway. They're saying just pay the upcharge and move on. And I'm like, in good conscience, this upcharge is too much. This would be like, anyway, this is like upcharging me for a PSA 10 when it's really a PSA 6, and I'm just involved with this right now, as I'm saying. So it's like, part of me is like, I could be mad and be like, screw you. At the same time, I'm happy I got upcharged because it means the photo was real, good, but I have to we have to come to some kind of an agreement. And it's just
let me tell you something. The thing that cracks me up the most, I laugh at people that, they have such a warm and fuzzy if it's in a PSA slab. Kurt took that 1953 Satchel Paige that was graded altered. It was altered. And he unaltered it and got a 6. To me, that hands down proves that grading's a scam. And I'll tell you this, you have no better chance of your card being in a slab with a number, not being altered, than you do of a raw one. I mean, because if you can get that by, and Evan Mathis can trim all those cards and get them all by, and that's probably why they give PSA is going crazy with this minimum size restriction. I think they were embarrassed by Evan Mathis getting all those trim cards past them. I don't have any more me personally, I don't believe, have any more warm and fuzzy that a card in a slab is unaltered than I do a raw one anymore these days.
Now,
I mean, unless I could tell it's altered.
Well,
but
let me ask you this, John. Then, what do you think? Do you think that grading has helped or hurt the hobby, or is that too general of a question?
well, personally, I think what grading has done to the hobby has hurt the hobby. All the reactions to it. I mean, it gives scammers way more opportunity to scam, fake slabs. The whole I got to have a 10 thing, the whole flipping, cracking, resubmitting. And now what we have is there are people out here who believe, and they're probably right, that any card not in a slab now was probably a PSA reject, right? And now you have opened the door to making literally every dealer unscrupulous, because when they sell these cards, they are not telling us they sent them to PSA and they got kicked back. And I guarantee you, these are all over eBay, and the dealers are not telling you that. So grading has created an avenue for unscrupulous sellers, and they're probably taking people who used to be decent sellers and made them unscrupulous. Because I guarantee I've never seen one person say, "Hey, here's my raw card, PSA kicked it back." Have you?
No, but I'll agree with you with PSA kind of hurt a little bit the hobby, because I could buy a collection from someone. He just comes up to me with a bunch of cards, just wants to get rid of it, has an operation coming up, and I'll give him good money for it. But now I'm left with whatever it was his collection, whether it's raw cards. Most of the time, it could be raw cards. I had a Ted Williams, 54 Ted Williams, he must have hated Ted Williams because his team probably beat another team, and they scribbled on his face something where you see it wasn't like a pen mark, but it looked like an indentation, like he scribbled. So because of that, I priced it as a 1. And below that, because it's not graded. Nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody. They forced me to freaking slab a card that I knew was a damn 1.
Yeah.
Everyone could know it. As soon as I freaking grade the thing, it sells within the next show. And I'm like, this is
People love plastic.
total horseshit.
People buy slabs. There's no question about it. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is.
It's just, I mean,
and I think I feel like people look down on you.
Me to grade because no one wanted to touch it. They feared that it was trimmed. How do I know it's not trimmed? How do I know it's not trimmed?
How do you know it's not trimmed if it's in there?
Oh,
you still don't know. You still don't know. That's my point.
And I'll tell you what, like, there's so many uneducated
and who cares?
People out there. Like, seriously, like, oh, it's trimmed. Well, I have a couple sewing tape measures at my table. I sell people, here, take it, measure it. It's not trimmed. Has it ever been graded? No. If it was graded, I would tell you. I put it, if it says min size, I'll keep the thing and let people know. You know, it's a lot of unscrupulous dealers, like you're saying, that give this a bad name, right? But it's like, I just feel like there's a lot of uneducated people, and there's more of this going on, like with the Jeff Wilsons, where it's like uneducated people are teaching more uneducated people uneducated things. It's like there's a very easy way to tell if cards are real. The grading system now is off, to some degree. I have no idea who's grading cards at PSA, because one day it's a 7, the next day it's a 9.
And people like they brag the PSA grades tougher, like they want them to grade tougher. Well, it doesn't even make sense to me.
I used to think
why do you want them to grade tougher than they've always graded?
I used to think they graded tougher. As a matter of fact, in my submissions, they did grade tougher. Now they grade more randomly. It's random.
Yeah. But wishing for them to grade tougher is like voting for somebody who tells you they're going to raise your taxes, in my opinion. I don't understand why you would want them to grade tougher than they've always graded. I don't get that at all.
I'll tell you.
But you know why? Because it jacks up the 10s and makes them sell for way more.
I'll tell you another thing. I graded this with PSA. Why? Because I don't want to alienate myself from the set registry collectors. And there are so many set registry collectors that are slaves to the set registry.
Slaves.
You know how many cards I have in SGC holders that beat a lot of cards in a PSA holder? And they even tell me, my God, that card is beautiful. So then buy it. Oh,
I
I'm
only
not,
buy PSA slabs.
yeah. If it's not
Only buy PSA
PSA,
slabs.
I'm not buying it.
You know,
because
but I say it.
over.
That's yeah, for sure, and I say it all the time. The two things that have taken over our hobby, and that's what I don't like, is ego and greed. Those are the two things that have taken over. Because I mean, if you're doing set registry or, you know, I don't know, like you're judging people by the numbers on their cards, then that's just about ego. It's like when you post a card on Facebook and some idiot goes, "Oh, look at mine," and it's a grade higher than yours or whatever. You know, they're just trying to outdo you. And you know, your collection is not about the numbers on the slabs necessarily, but that's what it turns into. And I feel like everybody in the hobby looks down on you now if you don't have numbers on your cards.
I'll
Well,
tell you.
I loved young Jake. I call him Young Jake.
Yeah.
Father of two now.
Yes.
Congratulations to Jake.
Congrats, Jake.
Honorary misfit, kind of. So no,
Right.
but Jake. I mean, yeah, I love the fact that he would take this. He did take one of these cards and just snap it out. You know, he would. James, this is for you. He would take this unwanted SGC Pete Rose rookie that's beautiful, and he would snap it out and put it in his binder. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, it goes contrary to what I was saying earlier about like liquidating your collection or making it easier, you know, more fungible. Everybody's going to collect how they're going to collect, but at the same time, you know,
You look down on him for that, don't you?
I can't smell this card in this holder. All I can smell is plastic. I can't smell gum. I can't smell wax. I can't smell pulpy paper goodness from 1963.
Yeah, everybody, you know, everybody collects the way they want, and they should. And you should buy what you want, and you should do what you want. We're just sharing our own thoughts and opinions on things and how we feel personally. I certainly hope nobody thinks we're putting anybody down or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just, like myself, I feel like, man, I don't want to be a slave to PSA. I don't want them to control my entire hobby. I don't want them to control the entire hobby. And I fight that because my entire hobby life, after all these decades, should not be predicated on PSA. Like that should not be where I have to spend all my money and how I am judged on my collection. And I shouldn't have to stare at all these goddamn numbers.
Well, if it makes you
I mean,
feel
they look
better,
like crap.
if it makes you feel any better, a lot of the vintage dealers are telling me that SGC is now grading as many or close to as many vintage cards as PSA is.
But they're the same company, and the numbers on SGC slabs are 5 times as big as the numbers on PSA slabs.
They get bigger numbers.
I'll tell you what, though.
Mine's a 10, 2 5s.
But I've always preferred SGC. And if I was to send in for grading, it would be SGC still.
I'll tell you one thing, though. PSA, John, this isn't a stab at you, but PSA is like the mafia. I'll tell you that much. Because they got the registry, which a lot of collectors have evolved from collecting in a binder to collecting in a registry.
And James, real quick, I theorize here that collectors bought SGC because one of the reasons was SGC was planning on doing a registry when they were independent. So by buying SGC and saying, "Hey, just go business as usual, you guys," they prevent a competitor for PSA. And everything you're saying about people being slaves to the registry is absolutely true, in my opinion.
And by the way, you are dead nuts on point with they're like the mafia. Because what's the mafia do? They come by, they say, "Hey, you need to pay me for protection." You pay them. And what's PSA essentially doing? You need to pay me for protection. I'm gonna protect you. I'm gonna protect you from those scammers, those people who put Kurt's card jizz, the people that trim them, but then they don't protect you. They grade them anyway.
And also, they hold your card hostage until you pay them what they want.
Oh yeah, they're definitely like the mafia, except
photo.
they're doing it legally. That's the only, you know, it's legal. It's legal extortion.
We're on 2 weeks now. 2 weeks. I'm gonna start. This is like the Iran hostage crisis when Nightline first began. I remember this in 1979. It was like Nightline began with Iran hostage crisis. Like day 1, day 4, day 10. What's new? I don't know what's new. They don't call me back. We're on day 11. You know, It's like just holding my photo hostage until I pay them whatever. Nobody calls me.
It's too bad Ronald Reagan passed away, or you could have him call them.
Yeah, he'd be like, yeah.
You remember they let those hostages go before he even took office.
What I don't get is how do you get away with a percentage owed if a card is so valuable? Like if a Mickey Mantle gets an PSA 8 and now you owe us $400,000 because that thing is worth 10 grand. I mean 10 million. Like, how is it justifiable that you owe a percentage? It should be capped off at like 5 grand, the tops for
Their explanation is for insurance because they guarantee, right?
No insurance is worth no damn.
Well, that's what I think that they should be absolutely 100% transparent about. Is show us what you're. Explain this to us. Show us on paper how you have to pay $400,000, $400 more for your insurance or whatever. Like, show that, because it's just not believable.
That thing
can I give you
me in a gold suitcase from Learjet to a limo. Like,
I mean, because you're not insuring the card, you're insuring your grade. So you mean to tell me your graders are so bad at grading that you have to have all this insurance on the card you're grading because they can't tell it's a fake?
Well, let me give you.
I mean, that's what they're essentially saying, right?
Here's an opposite example. I sent a card to Beckett. I picked up a star Michael Jordan, not the 101 one that's going ape shit that Wilson was pumping. A second year star Michael Jordan. Picked it up at the show 2 weeks ago. I did front row show in Phoenix, and I realized I needed to get this graded. Well, PSA doesn't grade. They grade 84 star cards, some 85s, but they don't grade most of the 85s. The only one that grades it is Beckett. So I sent it to Beckett. Day 365. So I sent it to Beckett. They charged me one fee. It's a 7 to 10 day service, and it's the same fee, right? Regardless of how much the card's worth. Now, this card's not a cheap card, but it's not like going to break the bank. And then today the grade popped, and it was a really good grade. It was a 9, but it's like they're not going to charge me anymore. They're just like, it's $79.99 to grade a card within 7 to 10 days. And by the way, they received the card last week. Today was day 1. They graded the card today on day 1. They sent me an email. Your grades are ready. We will pack it up. I go online when I get home. I look. It's got the grade, the subgrades, no picture. But I'm like, dude, this is the customer service that I've been looking for all my life.
Yeah, I have. I'll tell you, my grading company has some good customer service. I get the card and I open up a Mag Pro.
There you
and
go.
I put it in there, and I take a picture of it for myself, and I present it to myself. It takes about, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. I put a protective sleeve over it. My customer service is immediate.
But I don't.
You're the master.
And you know what? It's free.
Domain.
It's free. Huh? It's free.
Well,
I never upcharge myself, and it's free.
How reliable are your grades, though? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want a grade. I don't want a number on my card. What the hell do I need that for?
I think it should be called.
I mean, does nobody have eyes anymore? They don't know what a card looks like unless PSA tells them what it looks like. This is the thing I don't get. You need Mike Baker to tell you it's an excellent example of a 3 or a 4. You're paying somebody to tell you that? Like, do you not have vision? Like, if you're blind, yeah, it makes sense. But and you're just buying it as an investment. But if you have eyes, you can't tell if it's nicely centered, if it's a great looking 3. Like, is this how stupid collectors have become? Like, we're so reliant on other people, we can't wait to line up and give them our money?
Lack of education.
And they definitely command the 10% to 20% bump up. If you
I know. It's insane.
T206.
Hey, just as a little background, wasn't Mike Baker the one who graded the trimmed Honus Wagner that was Wayne Gretzky's?
That was Bill Hughes. And I know because he's my friend and he's told me the story a million times.
Okay, but Mike Baker started GAI, right? Wasn't he the one that got nailed for all the fake autographs?
I can't tell you.
I
Was
mean,
it Mike
isn't
Baker
that why
or- I think
GAI
it was
went out of
Mike
business?
Baker who started GAI, but I think it was Mike Baker and Steve Hart from Baseball Card Exchange. The GAI packs, though, are pretty good, like 99% good. If you get a pack in a GIA case, it's very flimsy.
I'm not saying it
They're
isn't.
good.
I have GAI cards from back in the day. I was kind of a fan of them, but I'm saying, wasn't there a big scandal? I mean, these people in the hobby, no matter what they do, they resurface. They just keep resurfacing and have a new scheme for you.
Well,
To
it's
me, if I charged you if I charged you for me to tell you, oh man, this card looks great, that's as big of a scam as grading fake autographs to me. That because it's just absurd to me. It's absolutely absurd to charge somebody for you to go, oh, that's a really great looking.
It has MG, his MG sticker, the Mangini Great sticker.
I could never have that business because I couldn't sleep at night because I'm a good person. And I wouldn't take advantage of people like that. Like I could never, ever, ever feel good about myself having a business where I'm just getting one over on people every day of my life. Like, forget about it. I'd rather burn all my cards.
Mike Baker is going wild.
Yeah, Mike Baker says yes. 1 million fake mantles, DiMaggio, Williams, Koufax, Mays, auto-authenticated. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the hobby has always been like this. It's like, I remember, I asked you, is grading made it better? I mean, I remember going to shows in like 85, 86, 87. I started to get in high school, I was making some money. And it's like, we look at a card and I want to buy a Hank Aaron. And I would look at it and say, the card's like VGX. And the dealer, this old crusty dealer guy, the big bristly mustache, he's like, oh, that card's excellent, at least excellent. It's maybe excellent. And I'm like, dude, you're going to hack another butt? What's going on? And I'm like, well, and he won a lot of money. And so we were like at odds of what the grade was. I guess grading in a way is helpful because at least we have some ballpark of what the grade is. The problem is that, PSA, like, it's like people just really do like, oh my God, this is the grade. Like, this is a 10. Oh my God.
Yeah, they take it as absolute.
A lot of stock. Yeah.
And my God, every single person I've ever bought from a graded card from tells me it's undergraded. Every listing on eBay says it's undergraded. Well, and if you watch YouTube videos, everybody will tell you, oh, this is way nicer than a 3. This is undergraded. But so we don't all agree on the grades.
That's on one condition, though. That's if it's a new Lighthouse holder with a new cert. If the cert is a 0-1, no one respects that grade anymore.
That's what I was saying about you should grade your cards right before you sell them. Because if I graded them 5 years ago, I'd have to regrade them now because nobody wants the old PSA holders. They want to try to get you down in price now. George, you disagree with that?
I
James,
disagree.
Do you disagree with that?
James disagrees with it.
No, he's told me that happens.
It happens, though. I'm not going to say, like, the haggling is a lot more rampant.
I see it on Facebook. Somebody will post a picture, and people will be like, oh, that's an old slab.
It's an old cert.
That's an old cert.
0.
Yeah.
I mean,
they grade much more tougher now. That's probably, an 8. Oh, that's probably a 6. That's probably a 6 by today's standards.
Look at the card. Yeah,
you can't look at the card. You can just look at the number.
As a general rule, I would look at this. I would look at the grade and the cert number, but then I'm going to look at the card. A buddy of mine last night, a card went off. It was 2 days ago. He let me know what it went for. It was a 49 Bowman Stan Musial, and it was like a PSA 7. And it was an old, like a 0 number beginning cert. And he's talking to me, and he's like, dude, the card was stunning. It was stunning. And he told me how much it went for, and it went for way over comparables. And I'm like, wow, that's strong money for Stan Musial. Maybe people are starting to freaking wake up. But it's like, he's like, it was an old cert, though, but nobody cared because the card was awesome.
Well, there has been recently a movement for paying up for a better looking version, regardless of the number. But then if that's the case, then why grade it?
Oh, people are going to beat you up.
I could keep going back and forth. I
can't
have a counter argument to everything.
Yeah, that's certain.
if PSA is going to grade it a 3, but it's going to sell as a 5, and everybody wants it, I mean, I don't know about you, but nobody gets excited to have a 3 on their damn card, especially one that looks fantastic.
The same goes for authentic. Like, you could have an authentic trim card that looks like a 9, and that card will go for the price of a 2. And then there'll be other authentics that are true authentics, been run over, put in spike bolts, and that gets an authentic, and that goes for like below the average authentic. So
yeah, and then you have the altered cards that are graded a 6 by PSA, and those go for a lot more than your typical altered card.
Yeah, so I sometimes wonder, would you be happier owning an authentic that's been trimmed, but it looks centered and it's been doctored? Or would you want the 2 that's never been doctored and it's a true 2? I sometimes wonder if that makes any sense.
Yeah, what is a true 2? I have to take some exception with that. What's a true 2?
But you're being cynical a little bit, overboard. But I'm just saying, like, just going on faith that it hasn't been doctored. It's a true 2. It has a wrinkle that didn't break.
Here's an answer to your question. I had a friend, and this is a couple shows ago in Anaheim, and there was a dealer. It was a sheesh. Had a George Mikan rookie, and it looked like a 5, but it was like, I think it was a 3 or 2 miscut, or it looked like a 5, but he decided to buy the card with the qualifier because he just liked the card so much. He's like, I'm trying to remember what it was. No, it was a 4 or 5 miscut, and he's like, I really just wanted a straight 2. Well, it's like he bought the miscut because he's like, this card looks so good. And how many Mikan rookies are there out there? There's like 700. That's it. Here we go. I love
grading. That's going to be my new sign in the background.
Is that your slogan for
president? I would love to have that Mikan, man. That thing is so expensive. So expensive.
It's hard to find. It's hard to find. There aren't many of them.
Man, I see them at a lot of different auctions and catalogs I get. I see that card.
I love a true 2.
Yeah, I think I started a movement with a true 2 here.
True 2.
What is a true 2?
Man, to me, it's one that ain't doctored, ain't messed with.
But is it a 2, or is it undergraded and it's really a 3?
It could be.
Or is it overgraded and it's a 1?
I mean, to your point, what you were talking about, like something not being worth what it is, but it's people are still in love with it because it looks gorgeous. I had a Nolan Ryan rookie card in a 5, and it was centered. Like, I mean, dead centered blazer. And then I had a 7 OC that was also a blazer, but it was like 80-20. And because of that, it got the qualifier. But the registration, the sheen, the sharp corners, it was gorgeous. But the price point for the 5 was $1,800. That was like the comps for VCP centered 5. And then for the 7 OC, which looked really sharp, razor sharp, packed fresh, that thing was like $1,400. The guy was like, well, I don't mind having $400 extra in my wallet. I think I'm going for that OC one over there. And to me, that was like smart money, because now you got money left over. And if the centering doesn't bother you and that qualifier brings it down, that stupid qualifier, I don't even know why they have the qualifier, because you got to be a retard not to see it self-centered. But it's just a way to devalue your card.
Well, there's only one thing I hate worse than having numbers on my cards, and that's having qualifiers. Hey, so I think we were going back and forth in a text on this subject. Why don't autograph cards get marked? Why don't they get the marked designation, MK?
It's a good question.
Because the card is clearly marked. I mean, you get clearly marked without question. It's marked. If some little kid wrote Hank Aaron on the back of the card, it would get marked, or on the front. If I sign my name on the front of that card, it would get a marked designation. So why doesn't an autograph get a marked designation because you're altering the card.
And I told you, I think shortly after, I told you it's one was purposeful, the other one was an accident. It's almost like someone getting a scar, and people are like, oh,
But
so
if you're a
sorry
card
that happened.
purist, I mean, you want that card in top condition. Can't be in top condition if it has writing all over it.
Yeah,
And
but
it is clearly altered.
imagine you don't have a scar, but instead you have a tattoo. It's still something on your skin, on your
You're like,
physical
damn.
appearance.
I mean,
but
this doesn't make any sense. So,
Hank Aaron
all right.
screwed that card up. Damn
So,
him.
hypothetically, if I cheat on my wife with a really ugly woman, then it's cheating. But if I do it with Jessica Alba, then it's not cheating anymore because she's special. Like, I don't understand the reasoning.
Is
It's
that
either
the
marked. Like,
pass?
Listen,
head
John.
marks are either marked or they're not marked.
Mookie
This-
Chilson said he wants
this
a
John-
tattoo.
John, this John Milner is not getting a marked. It's getting a Gem Mint 10 auto.
The hammer. John Milner, man, I loved watching him play.
I'm gonna show you a card. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna ask
Still
you. What,
picture his batting stance. He died young.
Are we going to show some cards? Are we going to show some cards the first time?
I got to go to bed, man. You guys got me all wound up.
Well, we're just.
I gotta ask you.
I
want both your opinions about this card. All right. Let me bring myself up here. What do you think about this card?
Hold on, where my glasses go?
Is it real?
It's a real card, but it's clipped on all four corners.
Yeah, but is it real?
Somebody put it in an album or something.
It's a real card though, and the guy had a real one. He had two of them, graded 3 and a 4, I believe. But his price point was like astronomical. I was just like, oh my god, I love that card. I always wanted that card, and I think John, you have one autograph, which blows me away.
Yeah,
But
mine's altered autograph.
Yeah, yours is marked. But I love this card. This guy sold it to me for $20.
Oh
and
my god!
It's like, okay, this will be my
Send it to SGC, get it slabbed, and just get it put in a slab. It's beautiful. A Sport Kings is the best.
Oh my god! Wait, you better do a grading reveal because I can't tell what grade it'll get.
Authentic or altered?
It's going to get a -5, but it's the best.
Oh my god! If it comes back less than a 1 and it comes back an A, my whole day is going to be ruined.
It's going to be a Mike Baker bronze diamond -5.
I was for $20. I was like, I'm good. Doesn't even have a crease on it or nothing.
I'd buy that for $20 if I didn't have the card. I'd probably buy it for $20 even though I have the card. Because I only have a signed one, so mine's altered. I might as well have 2 altered ones.
You only have a marked one? What's that?
Yeah, I only have a marked one.
I love that card. That one is so. When you shared that one, I was like, oh, you're killing me with that one. That's his best looking card.
Yeah, but Carl Hubble. So when you talk about Carl Hubble and guys like Pete Rose, they were such great signers and gracious signers. So their signatures are everywhere. I would never pay up for their autographs because they're just everywhere. So the one place that changes, for me is I want to try to find like a rare card with their autograph. So there's probably I never looked up the pops, but probably other signed 33 Sport King, but nowhere near like all his other cards, right? And it's the same with the Pete Rose that I got off of you, George, because that's a Venezuelan. So even though they're probably they're out there,
the nuts like this, you gotta just
the card itself is pretty scarce, so there can't be that many that he autographed, right?
Rose. There's only 4. There's only 4 64 Venny Roses autographed.
Right, and he has a million autographs out there, like a million. He signed everything.
Yeah, it's what the autograph is on that matters these days. Right,
because you'll talk to people who have a collection and they don't know a whole lot about it, or they just collect it, and they'll be like, "I got this. My brother has this big collection. Can you give me an idea what it's worth and this and that?" And it's always a stack of 8x10 photos that are signed. Like just your standard, not really collectibles, just standard. Somebody printed out 8x10s and had them signed, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then George that Sandy Koufax Venny he got autographed. Woo, that's a huge one.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
what you're talking about.
yeah, man. When are you gonna sell me that one?
I
I'll
haven't even
trade
made
you
a
the
video
Pete Rose
on
for it.
that. Well,
You haven't revealed
you
it
think?
yet?
Let me
I
see
mean,
if I have any
yeah, I
cards.
haven't even done a video.
If I have cards that have 10s on them, you might trade it. Let me see.
Yeah, I'll trade you for like an 88 tops Tiffany Ryan Sandberg, maybe.
I have. I'm going
Here's
to send in my entire 1987 tops to get graded. How much would that cost? $10,000 to grade them?
a lot of money, bro. A lot of money.
10,000? Oh, it's
And
totally worth it though.
Anthony Edwards. I love Anthony Edwards. He's dynamic. I haven't seen a player like Anthony Edwards in a long time. This is my favorite rookie card of his, by the way. And then I had an 8 and I sold it. I just picked this one up in a 9. But would I ever get a 10? Hell no, because that 10 goes for like $1,000. Why even bother? This 9 was just fine for like $300. And then that 8 I sold for like $275. So for $25, I got a little bump up. But I love this card. Like that image of him screaming, like so cool. Like to have a rookie card with that image. But I would never, ever shoot for that PSA 10. Ever.
Well, what do you guys think this would grade?
A 10.
You think it has a chance?
It might get
Nice.
a qualifier.
Nice.
A 10 with a misstep. A little OC.
You think?
A little. How's the back? Is the back OC too?
What do you think the
Spot
grade here?
on.
Play guess the grade.
Oh, guess the grade.
I'll show you the back too, but
Hey, John,
George, what do you guess on that?
give me a second here. I'm looking at something else.
clean back.
Gil McDougal, who's that? Okay, go ahead, turn over.
He said
Yeah,
guess
Gil McDougal, it's his rookie card.
Well, I mean, I can't see the surface, but boy, it looks like a 5 or a 6 to me.
I was gonna say a 5.
Ah, you guys nailed it. You're good.
See, James's PSA.
Of course, that's only because it's SGC. PSA is tougher, man. If that's
Yeah,
a 5 in SGC, it's a 3 PSA.
Well, here, let me tell you, your Carl Hubble that you have, what is the grade of the card? Is the card graded?
I'm gonna.
The Sport Kings Carl Hubble you have, John.
Yes. What about it?
What is the grade of the card?
It's just an authentic auto.
So on that card, there are 6 entire totally graded by PSA. There are 4 authentics. There's 1, and there's 1 PSA 5. Not the auto grade, but the card grade. So there's only 6 of that card.
Oh, nice. No, I'm here. I just I have to. I'm gonna grab a drink. So I
have to go. No, I got. No.
Do you think
I can't sit still that long.
How much emphasis do you put on pop reports, George, when you find a card that it's a rare pop?
A very high. It depends on who it is, but a very high emphasis typically.
Very high. So you will basically you're holding the bag. You will like maybe double it what it should go for, maybe.
Yeah, like the other day, I went to a card shop after a show. It's a new card shop. They had a Hulk Hogan, 85 tops Hulk Hogan there in a PSA 9. And I looked at the pop report when I got home, and I'm like, holy shit, there are not many, not 9s or 10s of this card. There's like 2,500 graded. If you're into wrestling, it's a Hulk Hogan card. That's cool. First one by Tops. And so I said, I'm going to go make a trade for the card. And I traded, some stuff. It's an expensive card. It's like a $450 card, and in a 9. And so I just traded some stuff for it because I can get there's a raw 57 Banks and a raw 59 Banks, and there's a Kareem 76 Kareem in a 6, and a Bobby Orr. But I mean, like this is stuff I can get very easily. So. And the Hulkster would be nice to have in the case, right? Just throw a Hulkster in there, Ric Flair, So I guess pop report, I'm answering your question with a story, but pop reports are very important to me, especially when you get onto the like really top-notch players, the rare issues. It's really important.
I'll tell you this much. just recently there was an auction that ended for Dick Allen's 1971 card in a PSA 8. Mind you, that's a high number series. So,
Tough
high
grade.
number in a 71 is hard enough.
Tough
And
grade.
to
Right,
get a PSA 8, there were 90 PSA 8s, 4 PSA 9s, none higher than that.
Yeah.
And because of that, that PSA 8 went for $1,000.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Holy crap.
Well, Rick, Vintage Oddball, you guys were talking. I was telling you I wanted to make some comments about last time when you guys were on. Rick had a bunch of 60s Giants and 9s and 8s and 8.5s. And, they're PSA, and he just bought them over the years, but he really wasn't into them. And he asked me what to do with them at the National. And I said, you got to get rid of these cards. There's a market for these. They're high grade 9s and stuff like that. And he sold them recently, and he did really well on them. I want my friend to do well on them. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can get yourself into high grade cards, you should. I'm not saying that you have to, but like example, I had a guy recently at a show, and I met up with him the other day. He's got like 60 Ryan Sandbergs and PSA 10s, all different types. He sold the rookies off, but his dad was an obsessive Ryan Sandberg collector. I bought 83 All-Star Game insert rookie in a 10. Like 60 of them exist, right? Like Tiffany's in 10s, Glossies in 10s, just stuff in 10s because they go, people want a 10, despite what John says, and he'll be back and he'll.
Well, you're talking the difference. Hey, listen, you're a dealer, like you sell. So of course you're gonna go get what you need to get to sell. And that's what you're talking about. You're not talking about somebody who's going to have the card for 20 years and has to buy way less cards because, you're only going to buy a 10. Yeah. And you're going to pay $42,000 for a 1987 card because it's in a 10.
Well,
it's absurd.
I'll tell you what's absurd is I've seen cases where, okay, so you know how modern cards has parallels, and people pay more for the lower parallel. The lower the parallel, the more it gets, right? The same can be said for vintage when you have very low pop report. That acts as a parallel with vintage cards. The craziest thing I've seen is with modern cards, you see a PSA 3 in a modern card that you never see it, and it's a pop 1. And someone's trying to ask for PSA 9 prices on that. And I'm like, where do you get that number from? It's a PSA 3. Yeah, but it's a pop 1. This is the only one. And I'm like, I could ruin up a card and get a PSA 2 myself. What are you talking about? So that's the most absurd thing I've seen at a show.
Yeah, because they go by the graded pop. And we all know if there's 209s and 110, well, any one of those 209s could become a 10. Not to mention the ones that haven't been graded yet, but they treat it like it's a T206 Hannes Wagner because it's the only one. Even if there's 208s and there's 9, that 9 will sell for a fortune, even though those 8s could become 9s. And if Kurt got his hands on them, they could become 10s.
If Kurt, what are you talking about? You could have the Kurt. George could have the Kurt, not Kurt.
That's right. Kurt's card jizz is in everybody's hands now. Everybody that wants to get over on PSA has that card care kit.
Well, I heard something that, and this is disturbing to me. I heard something that if PSA catches you, release some news release, if PSA catches you with this card care stuff, like on a card you submit, they'll deactivate your account. And I'm
but they can't catch it.
I said that can't. Well,
the only way they catch it is when people brag about it on social media. But I
don't understand. To say if I submit 20 cards and I bought them at different spots, at different shows, different times, who's to say that I did anything to the card? Maybe I bought it from Kurt. Maybe I bought it from Kurt's brother, sister's uncle's former roommate. I don't know.
Well, that's true. You have a very good point there.
Right.
Because just because it had something on it doesn't mean you knew that.
Right.
And it's the same with dealers. Sometimes I don't know if you get a card that's I don't know, you could, potentially get something that maybe was a doctored reprint or something, and you get it from some old lady that owns an antique store and doesn't know cards. It's like, you kind of have to consider the source too. Like they probably got duped. It's not like
Yeah,
they're scammers.
I'm
Is my point.
always, oh my gosh, look at this guy. Flipping ain't easy. I told you, there he is. Collectors with nines. They love those 60s cards to the registry. You go, Rick.
And here we go. President Mangini is going to audit Kurt. But it's true though. Like I submit with submitters all the time, and if I were to clean stuff up and then it goes through them and they get popped, that means they're going to deactivate them now. What if
I
they're
heard somebody who was like somewhat legitimate was telling me this, and I'm like, how can you prove that I did anything to anything? And you can't just deactivate my account. You can't, like, even with Kurt, I don't understand how they could deactivate assert numbers. I don't know. I just feel like
You have a very valid point with that. That is not fair if somebody got duped and now they're shut down.
Yeah, if you buy a 53 Jackie from James and he got that 53 Jackie from Jake and Jake got it from Kurt, and then it's like, and all of a sudden they're punishing him for it or you for it. It's like, we have no idea. These cards, this is why you always ask the question, if you're a dealer, like, where did you get it? What's the story? Like, I really always ask people these things because it's interesting, number one. But number two, it helps me figure out the provenance of the item and if I'm going to make an effort to buy it or not. Because if it sounds legit and it looks legit, if it smells good, I'm doing it. If it's not, makes no sense, I'm not doing it.
And Mike makes a valid point because PWCC got popped for submitting Dr. cards. Did they get deactivated? Like, did anything happen to them after that?
No, they came back and they sold their business to Fanatics, right? And now they're Fanatics Collect. That's PWCC.
Exactly.
Yeah, doesn't that blow your mind? No matter what they do, they get a pass. No matter what they do. I mean, they were caught red-handed.
Yeah,
I have a query. Where in the world is our friend vintage card curator Keith? Remember the videos he used to put out about all the pop reports, and he did all these investigative videos.
Oh yeah, those were fantastic.
So good. Yeah, Keith was out there, and I mean, he even emailed me one time. He says, "Is this your Willie Mays 64 Willie Mays?" And I thought, shit, Keith's emailing me. I'm in trouble. No, I wasn't. I sold a card that was a PSA 5 centered 64 Mays, and then it turned up a year later, somebody had doctored it into a 7. Went from a 5 to a 7. They had rebuilt the corners, and it was the same card I had submitted, and it was I had nothing to do with this.
That's
obviously.
why it's a scam.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's craziness,
So how would you feel if you have a card in your collection that's been like bionically re-engineered? The $6 million card.
But does it matter? I mean, we probably all do. Like, does it truly? What's the big deal? I mean, it's not like you had your wife for 10 years and then you find out she used to be a man. Like, this is they're cards. They're cards. Like, I've had this card for 10 years and now I find out that it has a little something on it. Oh God, I hate it now. Like, who cares if you don't know, if you can't tell?
Just you gotta go with it, John. Just don't care. Just keep going with it. It's the darkness. Keep going. Perfume. It smells good. It's okay. It's all right. Just keep going.
Hey, you telling me after 2 years you could be with someone and then wait a minute, there used to be a penis?
It's okay.
I don't know if you could tell or not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like I said, ignorance is bliss. If I don't know, I can't care.
Keep going, man.
Right? Like that's the thing. That's the thing. If I don't know, I can't care. But we are to the point where, oh my God, it might be altered. So might the cards in your slabs. Like, we don't know. So why do we make such a huge deal about it?
Okay, so I've dealing with this pre-WCC scandal that happened a while ago that Patty's referring to. I was collecting a lot of 8s, right, of Mays and Clemente and Aaron. Collecting a lot of 8s when I got back in the hobby. But back when they were $200, right? They were $200 for an 8. 64 Mays, $200 8. Aaron, $200 in an 8. So then what I did was, after this trimming scandal, I just started buying low grade cards I loved. I started buying. Yeah, there he goes.
I didn't realize Petty was on.
Oh my God! You just have random wigs sitting around. 9
No,
hours.
I made a couple videos for Mike Petty, and I had to have the Petty hair.
I know. I remember. Are we gonna? Is this? I feel like this is like the Memorial or the Labor Day telethon, like back in the day. We're just gonna keep going. We're gonna do it. You're gonna bring different people in. People are gonna wear wigs. They're gonna talk about people changing genders in the dark. It's just all kinds of stuff.
Hey, I wanted to bring this up. You know what's so funny is I guarantee you. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I guarantee you that Kurt's card jizz is probably just distilled water. Because, you know, it is unlawful to just send stuff out to kids with anything in it, right? That they could drink or something like that. There's no warning label. There's no ingredients.
There's some alcohol content to it, I believe.
Wouldn't you have to put a label on it if there was alcohol in it that a kid could drink?
You're going to have to contact the Food and Drug Administration, John. I don't know. This is above our pay grade.
I'm just telling you, you can't just go around sending toxic stuff
out there and to
kids. So it's probably just distilled water.
It could be denatured alcohol. It could be a lot of things. It could be a combination of both. But
the wax to rub out the scratches. That's what kind of wax is that?
It's probably just turtle wax, man.
No, I heard that it can't be car wax because car wax is meant to eat at the clear coat. And if you eat at the card clear coat, it's gonna not shine no more.
Well, I use that McGuire's 2.0 to like clean my slabs. It's got a little bit. I mean, it'll clean off the slabs, and so you don't have to get cards reslabbed, and you can keep them in your old.
I use Slab Renew. There's a company called Slab Renew. It works like a charm, man. Because there's nothing I hate more than you're buying a card and people just send it to you with not even a stupid penny sleeve over top of it, and then it gets scratched up or something. It's like, why you? And it'll be like a brand new label. It's like, why are you going to get a card graded and then bang the slab up like that or scratch it up?
When I bought this Jackie Robinson, this dude sent it to me in a manila envelope with no sleeve on it. Just dropped it in, sending it from the East Coast. Just dropped it in. I'm like, dude, there's only like 1,200 of these graded total. It's a really nice copy. Like, have some respect for. If I know you don't respect me, but just respect the card, dude. It's from 1950. This is
right.
Hobby, respecting the hobby as a seller, that should be like foremost. Because, I mean,
I think we've all had crazy things shipped. And I man, it sucks when you get a cracked slab. I just crack them out of there. I can't stand having a cracked slab.
How about me? I never got my Sandy Koufax in a 5 because it got crushed under the conveyor belt. And
no!
My money back, and the seller was out the money and the card. Because
what do you mean it got smashed in the conveyor belt?
So I got a delivered, package one day, and I never got it delivered to me. So I had to open up a case. And the seller was like, well, it shows it's delivered, so you're not getting a refund. And then eBay is telling me, yeah, it's delivered. Go check another apartment. I had to investigate, like play detective. Eventually, I go to the post office, and I told them, listen, you guys better start checking cameras because I got cameras all over the mailbox, and it's going to show that the mailman never put any package in my mailbox that day you're claiming it got delivered. So you guys are going to be on the hook for this. So after they investigated, then they had the tail between their legs, and they told me like a week later, hey, we investigated. It turns out the package got crushed in the conveyor belt. And then like a week later after that, I got a packet. It was a clear envelope saying, sorry, this got mishandled. And it was just a package with black marks all over it.
Yeah, but I don't understand why they say it's been delivered. I had a card a couple months ago. It says it was delivered, and it claimed it was delivered like 4 hours after my mail person was here. and I watched my mail be delivered, and I picked it out of the mailbox, and it never came, and it still has never come. It's never come, but it says it was delivered.
That's a hoax, man. And then you don't believe in sleeves. What's going on today there, John?
I believe in sleeves.
He does. He does have shirts with sleeves.
Did you see Brett Richards did that impersonation of me?
No, I didn't see that. I gotta check that out. I've been working all day.
It was pretty good, I have to say.
I seen you do the impersonation of Mike Petty, though.
I pulled it up and I played it for my wife, and she's like, "What are you showing me? I don't want to see your video." And I'm like, "No, this isn't me. This is somebody impersonating me." She thought it was me.
Well, then it was good.
I gotta definitely watch it now.
Because he was doing my opening.
Well, listen, we're on like 2.5 hours. We gotta put an end to this, or else it's gonna be like till the break of dawn marathon.
I don't. Let me wait before we leave. Let me just make sure I got all my rants in.
Well,
Yeah, I think I got them.
pull up your sleeves and get busy.
Go grade those cards, George.
I gotta grade them up.
Lou's defecting. He's gonna go on with Caesar, and they're gonna do a live now. I don't know.
Yeah, he's joining 4 collectors. He left the Misfits.
Mike Petty, thank you. He said great live show. When are we gonna have you on, Mike? That's what we want to know. When are we gonna have you on? Probably next week. I
saw Mike in Anaheim, man.
Oh yeah, you guys are hanging out, drinking beers.
I'm going to see Mike in Arizona for my birthday.
I know you're going to the Open, right?
Yep.
It's a pretty wild place, my friend.
Nice. So, any last word, guys, before we sign off? Nope. That's it. We're spent, right?
Keep collecting. No, thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got to get a sign off. You opened it up.
I got to sign off. Well, we'd like to thank you, Mr. John Mangini, Mr. James, Elite Hunters. And next week we'll be back for Hump Day again. So we'll see you later. Peace out from the Misfits.
Peace out, guys.
See ya.
See ya.